if there's a recess, you can have some, you can get up quietly, pick up a piece, it's all good, don't worry about it. Okay, so this meeting is called to order, first of all. And welcome back, everyone, to 2020. I hope your vacation was restful and that you're ready to start a productive new year. So with that, let's get to the territorial acknowledgement motion. So we'd like to begin by acknowledging that Concordia University is located on unceded Indigenous lands. The Ganyan-Gehaga Nation is recognized as the custodians of the lands and waters on which we gather today. Montreal is historically known as a gathering place for many First Nations. Today it is home to a diverse population of Indigenous and other peoples. We respect the continued connections with the past, present, and future in our ongoing relationships with Indigenous and other peoples within the Montreal community. So I have received a couple of requests for excusal, namely from Selena, Naomi, Amma, Marin, who had already sent her request, I think 2 council meetings ago with the reasoning, and Christiane, who has to leave early for class. Yes.
I move to excuse all of them.
Okay, do we have a second? James, is there any opposition to excusing the 5? Perfect. So that carries. And in approval of the agenda, so it's at this point that if there's anything that wasn't sent out by Friday, if you have to remove, add, or amend anything to the agenda, please speak now. Yes, Chris.
I'd like to add bathroom committee motion to the agenda.
Okay. Thank you. Hirsch?
I'd like to add the motion I sent you
Yep.
on
The meeting times?
Yeah.
Okay. Naha?
I'd like to pull one of the executive's reports, namely the GCs.
Is it from December or from January? Because we've got both in there.
Well, actually, it's regarding both.
Okay. Okay. And then, yes, Hannah?
I'd like to pull the January Loyola report, please.
Sorry, which one?
Loyola?
Oh, okay.
January.
Coordinator or committee, sorry?
Coordinator.
Coordinator, okay. Okay, is there anything further? I think that was all. Alright, so if there's and as well, if we want to deal with it today, I will add appointments committee to the appointments section, as there was a resignation, so there's 1 seat open, so we'll deal with that as well. So if everyone's okay with that, we just need a motion to approve the agenda and all items under consent. Salman?
I move to approve the agenda.
Okay, do you have a second? Victoria, is there any opposition to approving the agenda? Alright, perfect, so that carries. I will send out the amended agenda in PDF into the group, but for now we're on the appointments since there's no presentations or guest speakers, beginning with CCSL. And Eduardo, you are over there.
I think this is from...
It's sorry, I should have specified. It's a mix of from last time, and Anna resigned as well from CCSL, so there's actually a seat open. Push up.
Yeah, should be 4 seats left open on the committee. Again, these are supposed to be student-at-large seats. I haven't discussed this with appointments committee, so appointments committee would have to give permission to make counselors take it again. That's pretty much it for this.
Okay, do you recommend appointing anyone today, or going to appointments and then moving on?
As of right now, only 2 candidates have applied for the CCSL positions.
Okay.
The deadline ends on January 10th, which is Friday. So if no one else applies and we were to appoint both candidates, we would still have 2 empty seats.
Okay, no problem. Jake?
One motion to table this candidate.
Okay, till next meeting.
That's on next meeting.
Okay, do you have a second? For tabling Hannah. Is there any opposition to tabling this until we have more information and more candidates? Okay, perfect. So that carries. And we are on student life committee appointments. And Eduardo, this one's yours.
Student life.
Yeah, I'm gonna resign.
Yeah, I'm gonna resign from it. We need 1 member. We have the next meeting potentially Friday morning, if we could do it, either at 9 or 10 a.m. to go through projects. Like I've said, we hand out cash to groups that really deserve it and show excellence on campus. So whoever would like to join, feel free.
Alright, sorry, I'm just uploading the agenda.
Can I just, if Amat,
Victoria?
yeah, sorry, has Amat like quit the CSU or you just dropped
No,
it
no,
to
just
the
the
committee?
committee.
Okay, sorry, thank you. Concerned.
Okay, is there anyone who'd like to appoint themselves to Student Life Committee? If not, it'll just keep coming back up until someone wants to. Peter? To nominate yourself? Okay, do we have a second? Salman?
I'm seconding, I'm not.
Yeah. Jeremiah?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yes.
Do you want to nominate yourself or do you want to?
I'm nominating myself.
Okay. Do you have a second? Elizabeth? Is there anyone else who'd like to nominate themselves? Okay, so if not, we'll just give a couple of minutes to motivation. Peter, why would you like to sit on Student Life?
So yeah, it's just that I was on Student Life committee before, and I actually went through the whole year with Student Life. I know I dropped out because I was out of council for one semester, but I actually did the whole thing, so I know. Basically, I know how to work and the whole situation. So. Yeah.
And Jeremiah?
Can we pass? I'm sorry, because my mouth was full.
Okay, no problem. Is there anyone who wants to say anything in the meantime? If not, I'll read paper because you have to do secret ballot. You good, Jeremiah?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so why would you like to sit on the Student Life Committee?
I applied for the CCSL last semester. I wasn't sure if I got accepted to it or not, but I feel like I'm qualified to take care of the position. I don't have much experience, but I feel like I want to get the experience, and I feel like I'm ready to handle a new perspective.
Thank you. Salman?
Information is for CCSL.
It was point of information,
A point of information for myself.
Oh, yes.
well, he was just using it as context of why
Okay,
he was
okay.
qualified.
Okay, yes, Chris?
Yeah, I'd like to motivate in favor of Jeremiah. I was part of the interview of Jeremiah for CCSL, and I really think he'd be a good fit for the position.
Thank you. Is there anything else? Yes, Peter?
Are you thinking for Student Life or are you thinking for CCSL?
I interviewed him for CCSL earlier,
Yeah.
and I liked the qualities that he had. I think it fit for CCSL, and since Student Life is very similar, it's grant and funding, I think he'd be good for Student Life.
Okay,
Thank you. Peter?
I'll be there and then.
Oh, okay.
Then
So in that case, we don't have to do a secret ballot. Alright, so since Jeremiah is the only candidate, we just need a motion to appoint James.
To appoint Jeremiah.
Okay, to a second. Victoria, is there any opposition to appointing Jeremiah to the Student Life Committee? Perfect. Eduardo, your committee is full. And with that, we can move on to Appointments Committee. I believe this is Eduardo again, following Naomi's resignation.
Yeah. So Appointments Committee is a quite important committee. Obviously, we appoint people to all the university committees around the university. The important thing with this though is that it's a very high demanding committee, especially at the beginning of the semester. So we would need whoever wants to sit on it to be available for some pretty big days, especially in the coming 2 to 3 weeks. I know that January 17th, I'm planning to have a full day of appointments. So if you know you have class on Friday, January 17th, perhaps not the best idea to nominate yourself for this position, since you would miss a good portion of them. The good news is, though, after this month is over, theoretically, Appointments Committee should be done. So you have successfully finished your Appointments Committee duties.
Thank you. Chris?
Yeah, and I'd just like to speak about what kind of person should be on the committee. It's a lot of time. If you have a lot of free time, I recommend, you're probably the right person for the committee. It's intense, and I think Eduardo needs all the help he could get.
Thank you. Yes, Peter?
Just a quick question to Eduardo though. So for the 17th though, like how exactly are you planning to do it?
In terms of time-wise or in terms of the
Time
actual
wise,
procedure?
like just that day, like do you need to be like really have to be like that?
Well, I'm hoping to have the first appointment for around 10 a.m. and then hoping that we finish around 3 or 4, so we could get through approximately 10 appointments, 10 appointment interviews.
Do you want to do it from like 10 all the way to 4?
Yeah, I'm hoping to have it in one big shot.
Alright, thanks. Hannah?
I just wanted to say that, especially on the appointments committee, I think it's important to have diversity on this committee, because since we are looking at appointing a lot of people and looking at different candidates, so and CSU has positions on having a diverse committees, and so I think on this committee this would be especially important, because right now I'm the only non-male member on the committee, so just putting that out there for people who want to nominate themselves.
Thank you. Esther?
I wanted to nominate Lauren.
Lauren? Okay. Do you consent? Or do you go? Vote. Okay.
Sorry.
It's all good. Is there anyone else who'd like to nominate themselves or someone else? Like I said, if not, it'll come back next time. Yes, Peter?
Are you good?
No, go first. No, it's because I was gonna nominate Howard and they just whispered to me no,
Unfortunately,
so
I
forget
cannot. I
it.
am working on Friday.
Okay. Peter?
Yeah.
You nominate yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, you're second. Salman? Is there anyone else? Yes?
I would like to nominate Christiane, if she consents.
Okay. Do you consent to the nomination? Okay.
Do you want to do this?
Sorry?
Are you sure you want to do it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll read that.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. Yes. Desiree?
The room, but specifically to Peter, you can still run and like people will vote. It's fine. But also to anyone.
I'll do it then.
But
Okay.
you do what you want, but just like don't let it anyone discourage.
Do you want to keep the nomination? Okay. James, or you're just holding your placard? Okay. Okay, is there anyone else who wants to nominate themselves or someone else? Hirsch?
I'd like to nominate Mitchell.
Okay, do you consent? Where'd you go?
Yeah, I consent.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Is there anyone else? Okay, so if not, we'll move to motivations. So, Peter, why would you like to sit on appointments?
I mean, I know this one I haven't done it, so I'm really hoping to get some experience if possible, and also not bad. So I'm really hoping to, get to know the stuff. So, it's great.
Thank you. Christiane?
Wow, I blanked out. I've had some experience interviewing and choosing people for certain positions with my student union and with ASFA, and I also have a lot of free time, especially this beginning of the semester when I don't really have a lot of not a heavy course load, so I think I'd be good for the position.
Thank you. And Mitchell, why would you like to sit on appointments committee? Sorry?
Yeah, so I think I've had a lot of jobs in the past, so I think I have a pretty good judgment of like what qualities are needed for certain positions, so that's why I think I would be perfect for this committee. Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, is there anyone else who'd like to speak to any of the candidates now?
I would like to motivate Christiane, and now the reason is not because, well, obviously I don't know the new counselors, so I cannot speak to anybody's character, but I will say this as an honest motivation as to someone's work ethic, not based on their sex, but actually based on their merit. So I know appointments committee is for those of you guys who might not know, appointments committee is really serious. This is a committee that has to meet up a lot. There's a lot of important decisions that are being made, so it's very important that we have someone who's not biased. It's important that we have someone who has a good work ethic, and it's important that we have someone who won't lose their head over personal issues and that can remain professional at all costs. So this is someone who's very level-headed and who will be able to maintain peace, and sometimes it can get a bit tumultuous, and so I would have full faith in this person if they were appointed to that committee, and I support it. Thank you.
James? Oh, sorry, I didn't placard. Desiree?
And I'd also like to motivate for Christiane. I worked with her a lot because she's a signing officer, so I see her on a bi-weekly basis, and that shows, you know, commitment to the position, and like Maha said, a lot of level-headedness also. So yeah.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no, yes, Patrick?
Oh, I just wanted to say that I don't think experience or anything that matters. This is a learning opportunity for everyone, so I think that definitely giving maybe a thought about a new counselor would be great. Somebody needs to start somewhere, so yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, James?
I guess I'll go. Yeah, no, I guess I can. I guess I'll go. It's. I mean, with the new appointments that are coming on, people are kind of getting off committees. I kind of give preference to, especially to like the new counselors coming on, because you know, a lot of us that were there before have, you know, gotten on several committees, and I think we should give a chance for the new people to come in. And well, since people are resigning, you know, it's a perfect opportunity to get them in. So.
Thank you. So if there's nothing further, I'll just distribute the little tiny pieces of paper. Actually, if you can pass them down, I'm just going to write the names on the board so we all know who is.
Who do you vote for?
Alright, so your three candidates in order of those who spoke are on the board. Did I give enough? No. Okay. If not, I think Salman has some.
What?
No, you had little pieces of paper. Okay, so I will come and, oh, I'm sorry, it's either one person or abstain. I forgot to mention that. So if you want to abstain, you're good. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm just going to sing the orders from this side. Thank you very much. He got paranoid about the thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's
The ladies, you shouldn't be ashamed of that.
You're so ready, you know the drill.
Wow, that's crazy. Do what you like.
I think it's best to keep it to direction of duties and misappropriation of funds, and finding quality policing terms that's a bit more vague for other stuff. Because sexism, I mean, I could argue with that.
I know, I love it.
Misappropriation of funds second. Any severe arguable sexism can be.
Alright folks, after careful consultation and counting, we have a tie between two, so we have to do a re-vote. Sorry. So there was a tie between Mitchell and Christiane, so we have to do a re-vote. My apologies, folks.
Yeah, still keeping Peter in the list.
No, it's just between the two remaining.
Yeah, that's.
So,
I feel something.
all right, so we have to revote. Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, do you have pre-ripped paper?
And I know
No, Salman, I thought that's
other agendas. You need code. You're gonna have a lot of.
It's okay, man. 50-50 shot now. You have a 50-50 shot now.
The good thing is we're an even number.
She's already in the
Oh, sorry. You can head over. There you go.
It's a tie. It's a tie again.
No, okay, sorry. It did happen, but only when it was like it didn't matter. Like you were losing. Actually, I think it happened once. We just had a revote with and somebody the were my voice when it mattered.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it. They're on to super.
Also, because it's a great paper. Oh, the camera needs to be. Oh, sorry. Would have been a good couple.
Here you go.
And then I feel like a creative.
Second committee to be together. Second committee to be together.
Oh yeah, let me send that to you. Yeah, that's why I know about that. Yeah, let me find that. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah, once you read it, no, that's how Domino's works. That's how Domino's works. It's great at the beginning, but like as time goes on.
So send me the list of the names. I need to do my own
Where are we in the agenda? No, we need to
Clicked on it before I said it. Well, it's done.
It's not a tie.
Thank you. I'm like.
Getting ready.
I will keep it ready.
Send me your email.
All right, folks, so following the revote, the results of the secret ballot are that Mitchell, you are appointed to the Appointments Committee. Congratulations. Woo! So moving on, we are on the returning business. So since the meeting in December didn't happen, the points that were going to occur in December are now on this agenda. And we'll start with creation of an ad hoc fee levy committee, and this one is Lee. And there is a slight amendment to the motion that was sent out, so I'll just go post the amended one in the group, and you can just read it.
Okay, perfect. I'll read the amended motion now. It's only a little bit different. The spirit is pretty much the same. Whereas a referendum question passed asking students if they support bringing the opt-out process online for student village organizations by 61.1%, Whereas the preamble of the referendum question states that the system will be created in consultation with all fee levy organizations. Whereas the online opt-out process must be implemented with due diligence and respect towards fee levies. Be it resolved that an ad hoc fee levy consultation committee be created. Be it resolved that this committee will be comprised of Chris Galapatides as chair, the external and mobilization coordinator, and 4 councillors. Be it further resolved that the committee will interview all fee levy groups concerning the implementation of online opt-out. Be it further resolved that the committee author and publish a report on their findings in March to be presented to and ratified at council and then shown to the administration. Be it further resolved that the budgetary impact of this motion is nil.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Chris? Thank you. And your motivation, Lee?
Okay, so last council when I brought this forward, I didn't have a clear idea of what this committee would set out to do. I had a meeting with Chris and we spoke a little bit about what the purpose of this committee is. It's stated pretty clearly in the motion that it's to create a report made by interviewing all fee levies, and then that will be, my words, they're gone. I had a thing prepared and I did. First week of school. In essence, this is basically just to make sure that the online opt-out system is created in consultation with the fee levies, making sure that everybody understands what's happening, making sure that everybody is aware of what's going on, and that's it. Those are my words today. If you would also like to speak to it, that would be helpful.
Yeah, sure. I'd like to thank Lee for making the time to meet with me. It was very nice really nice of her, and we worked out some things to make this a bit more, I think just to make it more smooth, the operations of the committee. So basically what we're doing is we're interviewing every fee levy group, we're finding out what their concerns are, what they'd like the system to look like, to make sure they feel included in the process before the big implementation. And also we're going to publish a report. It's going to come here so you could all read it and see what they have to say. And also we're going to give it to the administration. We're going to put it right on Roger Cote's desk so he could read it and understand the importance of handling this with care, as Lee put it in her motion.
Thank you. Hirsch?
Just a general question. If we vote yes on this motion, do we have to select who gets to be on it now?
You don't have to. There's nothing in the motion that specifies it could be done.
What I mean is, do we end up voting on that today?
We could if we want. Like, it's up to council. Chris?
Yeah, to speak on that, the idea is to fill it today. The reason is this is urgent. Implementation could be in September, which means they're creating the system in the next few months. And if they're creating the system in the next few months, we need to get this information to the admin immediately so they don't get ahead on the process without us or anything like that happens. So it needs to be done now so it can be done with care in the long term.
Thank you. James?
Just information.
In the what is this motion, it says external and mobilization coordinator and 3.
Oh, sorry, it should be
4.
4. Sorry.
It should be
It
4
was-
or 3.
It should
Background
be 4.
behind that,
Sorry.
I originally wrote 3, and then Lee said she wanted it to be 4, so I changed it to 4, and
It's
then
4.
I forgot to
It's 4.
send the
It's-
proper
it's
one
4.
to
It's-
Caitlin.
Thank
I
you so
just-
much.
It's 4.
Just put it. Thank you. James?
Yes. So I was about to comment on exactly that, but also no, I think we should fill it today, and I would motivate in favor of this in this motion. Clearly, kind of sets out this is our duty from the referendum, and the only right. I already started speaking, but the only thing I would amend is also offload onto this fee levy committee all the other stuff related to fee levy, so the policy committee doesn't have to deal with it. If there are any, even, are there any fee levies applying at all? One? Oh, okay. All right, fine. Well, then forget that because you're already dealing with it and you're going to finish dealing with it. But we definitely have to fill the seats today. I think.
Thank you. Victoria?
A motion to call the question, and if, like, once it passes or whatever, appoint the people.
There haven't been a lot of people who've spoken yet. There's really just one person left on the speakers list, though.
And then we can come back to
And
what
then-
I just said?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hi, Sean.
I guess I just kind of wanted to suggest a possible amendment to the motion, because it's mentioned that there's 4 counselors. Why not make like 1 counselor per faculty to ensure because we want to get this committee to have like a representation of all of Concordia, all of the FEMA groups. So why not ensure we also have representation of all the faculties?
Okay, is there a second for specifying how the counselors, Peter? Okay, so at this point, we'll discuss the amendment to have one counselor per faculty instead of just 4 counselors in general. If anyone wants to speak to it, Hannah?
I would just question that because, like, I like the spirit of it, but then why isn't that the case in all other committees? Why should this committee be different? And so, because of that, I don't think this should be the case.
Thank you. Peter? Hirsch, is your placard up or yours?
No, sorry.
Okay, Lee?
This is an option that Chris and I spoke about in our meeting that was originally like the idea that we had. I think that with a 5-counselor committee, it becomes a little bit unwieldy. I'm not necessarily opposed for it, but I also don't know that I don't know if it really adds anything to the committee on the whole. I'm just hoping for like a diverse and thoughtful committee, and I don't think that implementing like a strict requirement on this one committee is super necessary, but I'm open to it if we want to add another seat.
Thank you. Esther, was your placard up?
Yeah, I forget what I was gonna say. Yeah, I think people that like we shouldn't restrict to every to each faculty. We should just like people who want to be on it, because I don't think there are that many people who want to be on it. So let's not do that.
Great, thank you. Peter?
Yeah, so my only thought to this is because we're talking about 3 levels, so I think it would be best if we could have like one person from each faculty, just so that way, if it's just that we can have it diversified and make sense that have the opinion from each faculty to make sure what we should do with the whole field everything. So yeah, that's just my opinion.
I don't think it should be like a strict requirement, but I guess at least make preferential voting, at least try and have that diversity. And I only say like favor one person from each faculty, because this was something that was very, very important to our student body. Like all these other committees might not is not necessarily at the forefront of our student body's minds, but this was something that was extremely important to them, and we should definitely try and respect and give them their equal representation.
Thank you. Hirsch? Oh, maybe I had you on before, sorry. Victoria?
What was it? Oh, if we're gonna create some kind of standard, like our colleagues have said, like you need to make this a precedence for everything. So I understand in what sphere you're coming from, and I do agree, like that would be great. I think if there was a process to do it in, it would be like obviously you vote counting on who gets the most votes, and then if there's anyone, like you go per faculty, and then so forth. Unfortunately, we're not gonna we could change it now, but depending on who wants to do it, because I know a lot of us are already overworked, a lot of us already have a lot on our plate. That's when we can decide, okay, you know what, there's 5 people running, 2 are JMSB, and 3 or whatever, then, you can like split it. Anyways, you get what I'm trying to say. Point being, can we call the question? To like, no.
Okay. Sorry, I won't make it long.
Please call.
I dropped it ultimately because I was like, I didn't really think it made a difference, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's up to the people in this room. I mean, it's up to the engineers and the fine arts students and the independent students. I'd like to hear how you feel about it. Does this matter to you? Does this not? Because I feel like if anyone in the room's opinion on this should matter, it should be that of those who are underrepresented on committees, I guess.
Thank you. Matthew?
I was just going to say, this is a topic of representation, right? So one of the reasons why I even joined council is because I know a lot of business students don't feel represented the same way that other students and other faculties may feel. So for me, if we're going to set a standard, I don't think it should be held specific to what we're talking about in this amendment. So just to clarify, the fee levies apply to everyone, but certain clubs, there's certain people that don't feel represented, and I believe that if we create the standard just for this and not other things, it would be great, because fee levies apply to everyone, and a lot of people become very, very concerned when it comes to this topic.
Thank you. Patrick?
If this helps everyone, every faculty voted in majority for the opt-out question, so that helps inform people in their decision making. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. James?
Yeah, I mean, I love this, like I love this the idea behind this motion in principle, but I think that at least when we're creating something like an ad hoc committee like this, until we do something like, for example, change the standing regulation or change the bylaws to do, then I would be very in favor of doing a proposal like that for one person from each thing. But until we kind of go to there, I'd love to have this kind of like as a, let's just say like an informal standard that I think everybody should try to adhere to, because it would get kind of, you know, if we have nobody from a certain faculty that does decide to fill the seat, we do need to fill the seat. And so because this amendment doesn't have a mechanism to resolve that, like I caution in that field, but if there's some sort of mechanism like to resolve that issue, then like that would be like, because it's great. I would love to have somebody from each faculty to get every faculty on board with the proposal, but there is the pragmatics of if nobody does apply, which hopefully we might be able to modify this to kind of allow afterwards like a second round of voting once that's done or something like that.
Thank you. Peter?
Yeah, so I just want to say one more thing is also the same as something that I just want to say one more thing that Fayette hasn't really been able to represent it much. So this is also one of the reason why I'm also leaning towards to have like different faculties have people represented, because like some of our faculties don't like just really how people can represent that particular faculty. So it's really be best if we can have that.
Thank you. Hershey?
So I'm a new counselor, obviously, so I'm still learning how everything works. However, I think in theory, it's every faculty should be represented. So I'm not sure if it should be specifically on this one or for all committees, but in general, like others have said, representation is very important, so all faculty should be represented.
Victoria?
I would like to call the question because if we have statements will not change the facts.
There's no motivation on the call to question. Do we have a second?
I can't second myself.
Is there any opposition to calling the question?
Thank you.
Okay, so in that case, we'll move to a vote. So this is just on the amendment. So to change the part that says 4 counselors, to change it to 1 counselor per faculty, which would thus be 5 counselors.
So I have a point of information.
Yeah.
What happens to the independent students?
Yeah, that counts in the 5. Did I do that right?
I mean, it's 4 counselors?
No, so then it becomes 4 to, like, to 1 per faculty and then in bracket 5.
Okay.
That makes sense. Okay, so all those in favor of the amendment, please raise your placards. Nine, 10. All those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. And any abstentions? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so in that case, the amendment carries. So I will just edit it in the group, and that way it'll make sense. Okay, so in that case, we're back on the main motion, and I think that was actually all. So is there anyone
yeah,
else?
I did call it. So we can call it again?
No, unfortunately. Sorry. Lee?
Just to say one more thing, and then somebody can call the question. The whole point of this is not to, like, this is a quick note, it's not to stifle a process that's already in fact. Students voted for this. It's just to, it's the creation of a mechanism to make sure that what people voted on actually happens, because this, I don't know what would have happened unless something like this was created. So be not concerned. Do the thing. Do the work. That is all. Call the question.
Thank you. Okay, so there doesn't seem to be any more discussion.
So I would like to call the question.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to because there's no more discussion. So if everyone's good with voting, all those in favor of the motion as amended, please raise your placard. 17, all those opposed. 1, and any abstentions. 1. All right, so that carries, and if I understand correctly, we want to proceed to appointments now.
positions?
Yes, one per faculty, exactly. Yes, Victoria?
What if no one in JMSB wants to do it? Like, I'm not saying anyone does, but let's say one faculty's like, nah, like, that's not for me, like, we fill it up with someone else?
Or I guess we
Okay, we'll deal with that when it comes, perfect.
We can pass a motion to allow.
Yes, Howard?
Yes, point of information. What is the overall description of this committee?
To create a report in conjunction with all committees that would then be presented to the administration so that they can use that to inform their creation of the online opt-out system.
Okay.
I guess the reporting method and how that is going to be carried out is to be determined by the committee.
Thank you. So at this point, I guess I'll open the floor to nominations. We can just do everything at once, and then maybe some faculties only have one person, and it'll make life easy, and then if there's more than one, then we can do the secret ballot. Is everyone okay with that? Okay, so we'll just open the floor. If there are any counselors who would like to sit on this committee? James?
I would like to nominate myself for the engineering seat.
Do we have a second? Sean? Anyone else? Peter? Okay, do we have a second? Lauren?
I'd like to nominate Howard.
Oh, okay, I'll count you as a second, but Howard, do you consent?
Yes, I consent.
Okay, and you are independent?
No, I'm James B.
Oh, JMSB, okay. Esther?
I want to nominate Senna.
Okay, do you consent? Yes. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to track all of your, and you are ENCS, or whatever
There's
you
any
do
other
now.
ANCS in the list?
Sorry?
There's any other ANCS in the list?
James. All right, is there anyone else who'd like to nominate? Chris?
I'd like to nominate with potentially his consent Peter for this committee.
Oh, he nominated himself.
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yes, Desiree?
I'd like to nominate Lee with her consent.
Do you?
I consent.
Okay. Is there anyone else who'd like to nominate? There's so far no independent students.
Oh.
James?
Can I nominate Jeremiah for, are you independent?
I'm JMSB.
JMSB, who's independent?
We only have one.
Oh, Hirsch.
Either way,
Hirsch,
I
nominate Hirsch.
reject the nomination.
Okay.
Do you consent to the nomination?
Oh.
There are other independents. Okay, so Hershey. All right, folks, is there anyone else? Victoria?
I would like to nominate Jared, given that he's not here, because I feel like it's something he would be really interested in.
The council consent to the nomination.
100%. So is it possible to maybe keep the fine arts seat, like?
You can move to
I agree to that.
later, but
Okay, well.
Mostly I can try to talk to him when say anything if he wanted, but like I know that
Can somebody like call on Jared or something?
Okay, if anyone can reach Jared, we'll go with it, but if not, we can appoint someone to a committee who doesn't consent to it, so that is all. Is there anyone else? Yes, Jeremiah.
Is this
Just reaching back to Jared, is it possible that we could, let's say, table the motion to add the finance?
Victoria's going to call him. Yes,
This is not fair to other one not here. This is unfair.
Fortunately, it's always how we do appointments. I know it's not great.
Personal privilege.
Yes.
Because this is always the way we've done something doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah, we have to do it like that.
I mean, if council wants to, like I have no authority to say it's not fair, we can't do it, but if council wants to table it, that's fine too.
Because to be honest, if we are here, if there are for many positions which were supposed to be given to other who were more experienced and more eligible for.
Alright, folks, there's a counselor speaking.
But they were not present and they didn't got the opportunity and they were late. So this is something, if they're not here, it's their luck. Don't try to push it. I would just say that. Because there are other counselors too who are not here, presented here, who are new. No one else know them, so they are not motivated. No one else is motivating for them. So just to be on the fair side of the table.
Okay. I mean, if you want to, if somebody wants to motion to table it, then it's up to the room to decide whether that's something they want to do. But the point is well taken, Esther.
Are all aren't all new counselors here?
No.
No, Selena's not here, and.
No, he's right here.
I'm just eager to beat her.
Yeah, James.
Yeah. So as much as I can sympathize with the fact that it might not be fair to new people. I think like this committee, I don't think can wait another month to be appointed. I think there's just an urgency here and we're trying to call people like Jared. Oh, Jared said yes?
What? Oh, continue your thought. I'll wait for my turn to speak. It's okay.
Oh, okay. I think this needs to be appointed as soon as possible, and there are a few factors. I think engineering, the only person we're missing is Selena, and I'm not sure if anybody knows if Selena would be interested. But anyway. So as much as it's unfortunate, I think this is very an urgent thing that we have to do.
Thank you. Victoria?
Given that we're all adults and realistically if someone else is interested, worst case scenario, we can re-vote it on the next council. I want to call the question, I want to vote on who we want to sit on the thing. Can we do that?
Did Jerry say yes?
Jared didn't answer, but regardless on Jared answers or not, I think that our colleagues do have a point. We do need to vote on this now.
I'm also trying to go right now and then say if we can answer, but I don't know.
But regardless, just in case, just in case anyone else is interested and someone else does come back because they're not here and they say they want to do it, then they can come back and we can have that conversation. But if it's not an issue right now, maybe we should not create issues for the future. You know what I mean? Let's not assume. Assume.
I'm okay with giving him an hour to respond, and if he doesn't respond, we move on. We need to appoint this as soon as possible. I think an hour is reasonable, and I also think that if you were super, super interested, you would have looked at the agenda and maybe flagged it or tell someone, especially if he knows he's not going to be here. Say odds are he doesn't care, but we give him an hour because I think that's the courteous thing to do. But we can't keep on pushing things back because then we're just not going to have a functional committee doing these interviews, and whoever it is, if they come in a month late, they're going to miss the whole process. And also, I've never seen us do this for any other position. It makes sense. You show up if you want to get appointed, or you let someone know in advance to nominate you.
Thank you. Just as a reminder as well, this, I understand the point, but this particular motion has been on the agenda. It was on it in December, and it's on it again now, so it's actually been out in the open for the last 2 months, so it's not like it's the first time anyone's hearing about it too. Is everyone okay with voting today?
Yes.
Okay. So in that case, is there anyone else who would like to nominate themselves or somebody else? Sorry, Maha?
It's a point actually. Can we just list out actually afterwards in each file
Yep,
to get all the
we can do that.
nominees? Perfect.
Jeremiah?
Can we, are we gonna proceed to the not the vote, the other thing, the lectures, you know what I mean?
The motivations?
Yeah, the motivations.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make sure there's
word.
nobody else who wants to nominate themselves, and then we'll go for it. Is there anyone else? Okay, so in that case, let me just separate out people by faculty, and then we will have a functional way to do this. So James, why would you like to sit on the fee levy committee? And I apologize for turning my back, but I'm just writing the names.
I think that online opt-out has been on my platform as a counselor both times that I've run. So, this is kind of something that I kind of got on about 2 years ago. It's one of the reasons that I joined council initially. Last year, I know some stuff didn't work out. Priorities were changed. We focused more on online voting than on online opt-out, but we got stuff done. And I got on council to get things done, and I want to get on this committee to get things done, to get this done, get opt-out done, and I think that's this is something that I kind of care about fairly very well. So.
Thank you. Salman?
Okay. Just reading the motion right. So I would like to motivating myself. Okay. So I was. It was also in my platform, as James has said. I was about to say that. So it was in my platform too, for online opt-out, and this is something smart. This is something we are living in a world things needs to be done in an efficient way, and this is one of the motions that I liked it a lot. A motion that a friend in question, that we will be doing things in a very smart and efficient way. So, but this motion specifically is not leaving out those. Groups, those referendum organizations. fee levies organization which are to be consulted before taking any action, and I will be much more happier to sit in this committee and to speak with them and listen to their concerns, because there's a lot of fee levy organization. They are doing amazing jobs, so we have to listen to their concerns before making any decisions. So yeah, I am much more happier to be sitting on this committee and doing some good things for the students. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter, why would you like to sit on the committee?
I understand the new committee, and also just like I feel it's really important for FAR to have a voice, because FAR has been one of the faculty that didn't really can have a voice out. So I just really hoping to get opinions from students, and as well as having the voice set for this.
Thank you. Howard?
Alright, so as with James, one of my main campaigning points for running for CSU was the online fee opt-out. And I believe everyone should get the equal opportunity to have the right to opt out or opt in online. I just feel it's about equal representation, and we all have the right to do so. And I feel it will make the process much more efficient with regards to just the general fees and understanding them. And I want to get more involved with how the fees are structured, and I just want general more involvement with the system.
Sorry, point of information. Why am I on the board?
Oh, did you not nominate yourself?
No, I nominated someone.
Oh, my mistake. Sorry, I had you down, but it was for nominating someone else. My mistake.
So
why would you like to
congrats,
sit on
Lee.
the committee?
I just want to make sure that the mechanism put in place is fair and well thought out. And that is all.
Thank you. And Hershey.
Same likely. Yes, I'm gonna work to make sure that it's implemented what the students voted for.
Thank you. James.
Yeah. So seeing as the 3 faculties have nobody else, and we're waiting for fine arts, I motion to simply appoint Lee, Hershey, and Howard to the committees.
Okay. Do you have a second? Hirsch, is there any opposition to appointing Lee, Howard, and Hershey right away to the committee? Esther?
Well, why don't we also engineering?
Yeah, sorry.
Just me and Sam.
Engineering has 2, sorry.
Yes,
yes,
I mean,
Hershey?
like, if I
Fine arts.
can put down.
Why not fine arts?
Waiting for
Jared.
Okay, is everyone okay with appointing Lee, Howard, and Hershey to the committee? We're waiting for somebody else to respond if they want to. Okay, so is there, yes, Maha?
Actually, guys, in order to save time and not have something get dragged out a lot longer than it needs to be, right now, our priority is that we've established that there's going to be a fee levy committee. Now, we need to appoint members. Now, if one counselor is not present, and even though giving him an hour is very courteous, and it is a very nice thing to do, in order to move along in a fashionably manner, in a timely manner, how about we all just place our silent ballot right now, vote right now for for each faculty that's present, and then afterwards have that ratified right now. And again, next council meeting, if ever another counselor would like to run, we can discuss that then. But for right now,
Just let her finish, Rosie. Sorry.
for right now, we can just make our silent ballot, pass a vote, and get this ratified. Any amendments can be made next council meeting.
Thank you. Hirsch?
The removal of, well, in order to have someone contest a seat, you would have to effectively remove the person from it. Does that not require 2/3 majority?
It would require a recommendation from the committee to remove, and then a ratification by council.
I really didn't know.
Or rest.
If I forgot.
But, yeah, so right now, the only motion on the floor is to appoint the 3 who have no, there's no contestation and there's no, issues with it, so maybe we should just vote on that and then keep going with the rest. So currently the motion on the table is to appoint Howard, Lee, and Hershey.
I call the question.
Call the question? Okay. Is there any, okay, we'll just do a vote. All those in favor of appointing those 3 right away, please raise your placards. 19, all those opposed, 0, and any abstentions? 0. Elizabeth, your placard's still up.
So sorry.
Alright, so that's good. So at this point, we can move to do a secret ballot for engineering or whatnot. Jeremiah?
Yeah, can I ask Peter one question?
Yes?
Yeah, I just want to ask Peter, if let's say Jared consents to be nominated, do you plan on opposing him or do you plan on taking away your seat? I mean, taking back your nomination? No, what I mean is like, are you putting yourself against Jared or are you putting yourself in case Jared says no? I'm just curious.
I mean, we'll just do a secret ballot, and if really enough that he wanted to take it, we'll just do a secret ballot, and then you guys can decide, I guess.
Okay, so the first
well,
one.
anyone could at any time move to appoint Peter, and then we could vote on it. And if you don't agree, then you could vote no. And if you do agree, then you can vote yes. Right? So at this point, yes, Peter?
Jared is saying my message. I'm waiting for him to get him back right now, so he just saw it, so I'm waiting for him to write
Okay.
back to me.
We can, if everyone's okay with it, we can move to the
Okay,
secret
so
ballot.
he just said it, so he want me to sit on it.
Sorry?
He want me to sit on it. If you guys
Oh,
want
okay,
me to say.
perfect. Okay.
You can sit on the committee.
May we have a motion to appoint Peter since there's no opposition? All right, Matthew, do we have a second? Hirsch, is there any opposition to Peter sitting on the committee? Perfect, that is unanimous. Congratulations, Peter, and we can move on to the engineering. Sorry, I think it's GCS now.
GCS,
Yeah,
yes.
There we go.
Gina Cody.
GCS, Gina Cody School.
There we go. There's a S and a C.
ENCS is better.
There we go. Sorry, old school. Okay, so I'll pass out the ballots for the engineering.
GCS.
GCS.
right?
Well, it doesn't matter what it's GCS.
Let's just do GCS.
I was just trying to.
No, I get it.
ENCS. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. Although you've given me
This could go bad.
I think someone's flying this side of the table.
I'm on it. Today I brought a lot of people.
Oh, okay, I'll check my account.
But, you know, when it comes to...
And this side.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see it.
Sorry, but I think it's not like it.
That'd be an interesting story to tell. Is what it would be.
Alright folks, so following the results of the secret ballot, Salman is appointed to the committee as the Gina Cody representative.
Thank you.
Alright, thank you all. Is there anything else to discuss on this point? I don't believe so. Okay, so if not, we can move on to academic caucus, and Naomi isn't here today and requested that it be tabled, so we just need a motion to table basically. Maha?
Alright then, if not, we kind of representative on that.
But I motion to table.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So motion to table in second?
Can I ask you a question on that?
Yes.
It says I was there, but I'm 95% sure I wasn't there. You were where? I was reading the minutes, and it says. Oh, okay, good, thank you. I was really confused when I read that. Thank you. Can we put last names maybe? Because I panicked. So I was. Thank you.
Alright, so I take it. Okay, so there's a motion to table with a second. So is there any opposition to tabling? Okay, perfect. So that'll show up again next meeting. And we're at 7C, which is judicial board motion. And Chris, this one's yours.
Oh yeah.
From December.
Can I be
Do you want the motion?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that was a while ago. I forgot.
Yeah, it was from December.
All right, everybody. I got a motion. So we're asked the judicial board requires a minimum of 3 members. We're asked the judicial board only has 2 members. Be it resolved that the appointments committee be tasked with interviewing judicial board applicants. Be it further resolved that the appointments committee recommend up to 7 candidates to the council at the RCM on, when's our next RCM? January 22, 2020. Be it further resolved that the Council of Representatives vote on the candidates at the January 22 RCM as required by bylaw 8.1.1.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a second?
Wait, point of information.
Can we just second it first, then we'll move on to, okay, Hirsch, and yes, you have a question?
When you say appoint up to, is 7 the max, or is it like appoint 7 candidates?
I believe the max.
Yeah,
max.
Okay, where's the motion?
Cool. Oh, it was sent in the documents.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and your motivation.
Yeah, so the motivation is usually, well, not usually, in this situation too, but the powers of appointing judicial board are rightfully with the council. It's a big deal. It's something that shouldn't be just to a committee. But we don't have time. Last year we did, in short, last year when I was on council, we did appointing judicial board. We did like 15 candidates, and it was like in half an hour interview, out, in half an hour interview, out. It was very time consuming, and yeah, it was just a big, really complicated mess. I think the best thing to do is get appointments committee, delegate them to interview people, and they will send us who they believe are qualified candidates. And if we don't agree, if the council doesn't agree, they could simply just not take the candidate. But chances are, if they're sent here, they're probably good candidates because we could trust our appointments committee.
Thank you. James?
Yeah. So, great. I know there are a few cases that people have brought before judicial board that are now stuck in bureaucratic limbo because we don't have enough people on, enough, I don't know, do I call them judges? Judicial board members on the board to hear the case. So we need to get this stuff done real quick. And I do remember those meetings. It took the entire night to get through, and we were like out at like after midnight. Doesn't matter. Too tired to remember. So I'd like to not repeat that, but I would also like to ask appointments committee to also provide like a transcript of the interview so that interested people could also read it or something along those lines to council before that happens. I saw that there's a deadline on the 10th of January for people to apply to the judicial board, so that's also good. Hopefully we get as many people on there as possible so that, you know, time works out for everyone. But I know there's a few cases that are from judicial board and it needs to be resolved fairly quickly, so let's get this done.
Thank you. Eduardo, are you okay with providing the, maybe not transcript, but minutes at least of the meeting?
James clarified what you would like as a transcript.
So like answers to, for example, there's a question that you ask them, just their answers to the questions that you, and the questions that you asked them, so.
Okay, yeah, because
right, or at the very least like a paraphrase of what they said.
Yeah, because currently we ask questions and I have like a little template involved where we could write what they answered and what we got out of their answer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so that for all the candidates, not just one.
Thank you. I thought I saw a placard somewhere. Anyone else want to say anything? Okay, so if not, we can move to a vote. So all those in, oh, yes?
So what exactly are we voting on?
We're voting on, do you want to just, explain?
Yeah, so the council gets to appoint judicial board. Now, instead of having all the judicial board applicants come here, interview, and then the council picks, we're gonna get the appointments committee to do most of the work for
Sorry,
you.
I thought James wanted to amend something, but yeah.
Oh.
Well, no, I just asked the appointments committee agreed to provide it anyway, so there's no need for an amendment.
And also, I mean, it's pretty tough order to get all these people by January 22nd. I mean, if appointments, I think you should try your best because it's pretty serious, but if you can't, I mean, I'm sure we could understand one council meeting after. And last thing, we want this done right away because we have a tradition at the CSU of disqualifying executive teams in the election, and we need a judicial board in case that happens. Because if we have no judicial board, I have no idea what we do.
Okay, thank you. Peter?
Just one point of information though, how you wanted to meet.
Alright, folks, settle down, please.
Just one point of information for Chris, like how do you want it to meet? Like when do you want it to meet and everything, how do you want it to meet?
You mean the appointments committee? When do they meet?
Yeah, when.
Oh, that would be Eduardo who
Okay.
would deal with that. He just walked out.
Can I call the question?
The meeting is already scheduled for the 17th, so hopefully if the candidates are fine with that day, we will interview them, or the ones that can make it on the 17th, so that will be before the 22nd, so we would recommend people for the 22nd, hopefully.
Alright, thank you. Okay, so this concludes the points of information. So we can move to a vote. So all those in favor of the motion, please raise your placards. All those opposed? 0, and any abstentions? 1, 2. Perfect. So that carries. Is there anything else on judicial board? Okay, so if not, we can move to ratification of by-election results. So this is supposed to have been from November. It's fairly self-explanatory. James?
Motion to ratify.
Okay, do we have a second? Victoria?
Because James always first it and I'm seconding him.
Well, the mover of the motion is the one who.
Fine, I'll second him. I support
Second,
it.
do you want to motivate James?
It'd be kind of weird to have people voting and to have motions that aren't ratified. So let's just get this done, and democracy, yay!
All right. So all those in favor of ratifying the results of the by-election, please raise your placards.
I didn't know, did they resign?
No.
Yeah.
17. All those opposed. 0, and any abstentions. 1, 2, 3. Okay, with Hirsch's abstention. Okay, so at this point, alright folks, at this point we are on 8A, which is the ratification of the CEO's report. So I spoke with the CEO, and unfortunately he could not be here today as he is out of country, but if there are any really pressing questions, he can answer them by email. But council needs to ratify the report. Victoria?
Just want a quick comment before that. Like I was reading his report, and some of the things he wrote, like he was saying that he wasn't sure because some of the lists did not have all the student names and numbers, and like I was 95% sure when I ran that if you didn't have all 3 sections filled, and if it was like hard to read, that just disqualified like that person signing for you. So I was kind of confused as to how like do they have that right? Do they not have that right? Like should we declare as one, say like they have the right if it's not completely filled out, like you don't get that person as a nomination? I don't know if that makes.
If you want to write out the question, I can email it to him. Council can table the report, and I can see if he can show up to next council to answer questions if he's amenable to that. James?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Too late. James?
All right. Yeah. So there's an issue that I kind of got, especially like with the report, is that is exactly that issue of people not having, him disqualifying there, because I know a few candidates got disqualified because the CEO couldn't read it, and I know they contested it, but the CEO basically just refused to do anything. He basically sent one email to the dean and then gave up on the entire thing, right? Because from what somebody told me, is basically the CEO sent one email to the dean and then just gave up on all communication when the dean didn't respond, and that's okay. I'm done. To double check the student lists and the student numbers, because the CEO didn't have student numbers, which raises the question: the student number is supposed to be there to be able to try and find if it's somewhat ineligible to generally make sure that it's the right people. That didn't happen, and I know that didn't happen with. Did I say something?
No, I think the door just closes fast. At least I don't think so. Not to speak for anyone else, but it closes hard.
Okay, but yeah, so I know that was an issue. So this is something that I really want to ask the CEO, and I want the CEO to come here because I want answers to that question, especially because this is stuff that people have told me. So this is something I think we need an answer to. So I'd favor pushing it to next time.
Okay, Chris?
Yeah, I just wanted to stress the importance of tabling this report. As many of you probably heard, the CEO said he was resigning. I have now gotten word that he is not resigning and he's continuing another semester. So if anyone here is not satisfied with the work of the CEO, this report is your, pretty much like next council meeting when we talk about the report, is your last opportunity to have that opinion heard. So I think it's crucial that we table it, and I think it's crucial that if anybody has any questions, they're able to get a satisfactory answer from the CEO.
Information.
Yes?
Is this information about the resigning, not resigning is public?
All I know is it's been told
We
to.
shouldn't be talking
Yeah,
about
it's
open
good to
session
avoid
about it,
hearsay in general, but
because
yeah.
we cannot talk about those things in open session. Just ask.
Point taken. Eduardo?
I was going to answer a question that both James and Victoria brought up, but if they're going to pull a report, the CEO could answer it next time.
Thank you. Yes, there was a question or comment.
It's kind of regarding what Eduardo. I've actually had asked Florian about this previously, and the way he explained it to me was that he gets a list of the name of people as they are enrolled. So if the name doesn't match exactly, then that's basically what disqualifies someone. So let's say someone signs as, John Doe instead of Jonathan Doe, that disqualifies them. And I don't think they're allowed to get student IDs. Like, I think he asked the dean for student IDs, but was kind of told no. So that was what I was told about that. If that clarifies anything for anybody.
That's ridiculous.
Thank you. Isaiah?
I just had a motion to table the report until the CEO can come and present it.
Okay. Just in case the CEO can't, would you be amenable to, be resolved that we table and be resolved that I invite the CEO? Because if he doesn't show up, then the way it's written, it just won't ever get accepted. Is that good?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that a second? We have a second?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Hannah, basically the motion, like I said, be it resolved that the CEO report ratification be tabled. Be it resolved that the chairperson invites the CEO to the January 22nd council meeting.
Point of information.
Yes.
I remember you wrote in your report that he violated bylaws. Could you possibly refresh my memory?
I'm gonna go check my
about
report.
that?
Yeah, because he was not responding to you.
Does this have any bearing on how you're gonna vote in the motion? So I was gonna say we can bring it to business arising at the end, and I can refresh myself on what I had written, because that was for
just
December.
for the next council when it's tabled.
Okay, that's perfect. I can bring it up in business arising, and I'll have and point number 10, and I'll have a more coherent answer for you, but let me go check on that. Okay, so all those in favor of tabling and that I reach out to them for the 22nd meeting, please raise your placards. 18, all those opposed, 0, and any abstentions? 1. So that carries. And we are on point B, and this one is Mitchell's point.
I've received consent to read the motion
Oh,
and
perfect.
present.
Yeah, go ahead. Did you have something on the last point?
Can I propose that we go into closed session, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Second. All right.
Information. So,
Yes.
so first we're doing, like, are we for, we're still doing consent agenda though, so we're still, okay, because I pulled some minutes, so.
Oh yeah, sorry. I always put the minutes at the end of substantive. Sorry. So they're points. Currently they're points E and F of 8.
Okay, good to know. Just
Okay.
checking, thank you.
All right. So all those in favor of entering closed session, please raise your placards.
Require a vote on?
Yes, we do at 2/3 in fact under the bylaws, under the standing regs. Sorry. So all those.
Before you vote.
Sorry.
Question before you vote.
Mhm.
It's not a silly question, but can you clarify what you mean by closed session?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, when we enter closed session, everything that happens in closed session stays in closed session.
Right.
And I can't hammer home enough the importance of that because during closed session, things like human resources issues, legal issues, things like that are discussed. Things that can have ramifications if they're talked about outside of the room. So just really important that what we discuss in closed session stays in closed session. And under our standing regulations, it requires a 2/3 majority vote to enter closed session. So all those in favor, please raise your placards. 12. All those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And any abstentions? So 12 over 19, if anyone's better at math than I, is a 63. So it does not meet the requisite 2/3. So we'll stay in open session. Matthew?
Yeah, no problem. Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
So, whereas Section 9.1.2 of the CSU position book endorses the BDS movement against Israel.
Sorry, can I just talk for a second?
Wait, is everybody gone? Sorry, who's in? I thought we're.
No, nobody walked out.
Great. Wait, are we doing a closed session?
No, closed session failed.
Oh, failed.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry. The motion to do closed session failed.
Sorry, I missed that.
No problem. All right, so Matthew, you have the floor.
Whereas Section 9.1.2 of the CSU position book endorses the BDS movement against Israel, whereas the CSU is currently using products and services from companies that have operations in Israel, whereas the CSU is using products and services developed using Israeli technology, be it further resolved that the CSU executives actively take action to resolve this issue, be it further resolved that the CSU bans the use of products and services that support and or were developed by Israeli technology during all CSU meetings, events, and any other affiliated functioning. Be it further resolved that CSU counselors not use these items for CSU. Be further resolved that the CSU promotes citizens of Gaza to cease the use of the Israeli currency in order to further pressure Israel. So, before...
Sorry, I just need a second.
Yeah.
Do you have a second for the motion? Mitchell, and your motivation?
Before us today is a motion that is not only completely nonsensical, but highlights how impractical a position can be. Under our current position, we would all have to dispose of our phones, computers, and wearables due to its internal technologies. Under this position, we would need to cease using Facebook for communication purposes immediately due to its server locations. You might be thinking, why is this? The answer is Israeli technology. Everything I've just named has either been made by Israel, has technology developed in Israel, or has had direct involvement with the state of Israel. Any further sources can be provided upon request to support these claims. You see, whether you have one stance towards BDS or another, all of you should be able to discern that this position does not make sense to implement because we would have been in violation and will continue to violate this position until we take the ultimate decision to get rid of it once and for all. Let's not make this council a council of hypocritical enforcement, but a council of progressive and logic position taking. But if we do decide to pass this motion, we need to implement it to the strictest of our abilities to ensure that we do not violate this position any further. There shouldn't be any amendments or changes to this motion because any of them would simply lack the necessary depth to fulfill our existing position. In order to implement it to our most stringent and rigorous abilities, under this position, we will all have to get up, walk out, and host all forthcoming CSU events, meetings, and affairs off campus at locations where Caterpillar construction equipment were not used. I make this motion in the hopes of it never passing. I do wish
Sorry, I do need to cut you off. A mover can't speak in opposition to their own motion. Sorry, it does very rarely happen, but okay, folks. No, the motion is okay. It's just a mover can't speak in opposition of their own motion under Robert's rules. It doesn't happen very often, but it does. All right, folks. Yes,
If Mitchell submitted the motion and Matthew, but because he's the one that presented it,
It's
that's
the
why he
mover.
can- Okay,
Yeah.
mover is the word.
Okay, so we'll move on with the speakers list. James?
Yeah, so this is an absolutely ridiculous motion. Everybody should just vote it down, and I don't want it to ever see the light of day again. I think Matthew made some some good points with regards to very interesting practicality and certain, let's just say, extreme positions that you could take. Just yeet it from the face of the earth. I don't want to see this ever again. Yeet the motion. Everybody vote no. Please just yeet the motion.
Thank you. Mitchell?
Hi, yeah, so basically Matthew and I, we made this motion just to show that like, there's no actual point of having this in the position book if no one's endorsing it, firstly. Secondly, the student union's not meant to like be involved in international affairs. If I had it my way, I'd have it in the standing regulations that we can't even have anything to do with international affairs. And that's our point is like for the students, like this has nothing to do with the students. And in fact, by having it there, it makes everything like, it makes us all like divisive. We want to be like, we want to have policies that bring us all together instead of like pulling us apart. So that's all I have to say.
There's a point of
Peter, you're next.
I mean, there's a point of information though. So, do you guys mean that you guys just don't want like to use Facebook during meetings or what? Like, I don't
Yeah,
I just wanted to understand this motion. Like, what? So, like all those that you guys listed, you just don't want to use it?
Sorry.
Can somebody explain the
Just to
logistics?
clarify, so all the companies that you see here, obviously, like it's ridiculous. I even proposed it with that intention. So there was never and it was at the end. I never wanted this to be argumentative or any hostility involved. It was just more to say like, why have something if we can't even follow it? It just doesn't look good, and it won't look good. So I'm just saying, going forward, I think we should have an open mind, regardless of what your personal position may be. It's just that these companies are all involved somehow, and we're all using these companies in some way, shape, or form for our functioning of CSU. So let's just try to have more of a progressive and long-term view on this, right?
Thank you. Peter, did you have to add it? It's your speaker turn.
Like, I just want to say, like, I mean, some of you guys might know, like, I've been on council before, like, we just never had this kind of motion before, so, like, it's just really weird, and I don't think that we should pass this honestly, so, yeah.
Point of information.
Yes, please.
So one of the companies on the list is HP, but I was told that we weren't allowed to buy things from there anyways.
Okay.
Already, just.
Great. Thank you.
Why?
Yeah, so a couple points. First of all, the point of the position book that's been mentioned was adopted by the members. So what the logical next step seems to be is to try to get it back to referendum and basically get it like unpassed. So I don't really know what the point of this non-point motion is. Also another point, the position book is supposed to be like a holistic, intersectional view against oppression, which accounts for multiple different types of oppression. And there's a bunch of other reasons why Apple and Microsoft are problematic. So I feel like I'm not really understanding this tactic because, I mean, the positions book is just a stance against different types of oppression. And if the concern is that this is in the positions book, why not just take it to referendum?
I have a point of information. If I wanted to table this indefinitely, just get rid of this whole concept.
You
How would
would
I do that?
just say I move to table indefinitely when it's your turn.
One point of information.
Yes.
Actually, what's the difference between voting down a motion, say voting no, and postponing it indefinitely?
I mean, nothing really. Postponing indefinitely kills the motion. It's the difference between like killing the motion and voting no on it. So it's like, I guess it has the same effect.
But it's more peaceful
But-
minded, I think.
I mean, if you vote it down, then if you want to bring it back up later, I don't know if you remember all those things that you have to do, like somebody on the opposing side has to bring it up and all that, whereas if you motion to table indefinitely, then it can be brought up without that kind of stuff. So, but like practically speaking, it's the same thing.
I want to table it indefinitely.
You have to wait for your speaker turn, sorry. Desiree?
Oh yeah. So as Elizabeth was saying, if there's already an intent of bringing this to referendum again, I just want to like danger of bringing a motion like this to the table if the intent isn't even to have it passed. Like it's a lot of conversation about something, but also just in favor of. Not in favor of the position, because I don't want to get into this conversation, but the wording of the position, it says endorse. And endorse is simply like one public approval, support. So it doesn't say apply or implement BDS on every single activity we do. So essentially the position is just saying the CSU is in support of the BDS movement. So tangibly it doesn't mean that we have to applied in our everyday activities. So that distinction, I don't know if they thought of it back in the day, but that distinction kind of makes it clear that we can apply this position in the way that we want to. And a lot of these positions, the positions books are, like, again, just holistic. People are for feminism generally. People are for free education, but no one's not paying their tuition because they're for free education. It's just we will support anything that is attached to that idea. So yeah, but also just now everyone's like fired up and wants to talk about it, but the point was not even, the point was not, your point was not to fire up people, so it's just be careful of bringing stuff like that. Yeah.
Thank you. Maha?
Thank you. So there are several things here. Number one is that I think that the people who drafted this motion are confused as to...
Let's avoid that kind of...
All right, perfect. Without anybody feeling targeted. But, okay, so there's some clarifications, though, that are necessary to be made. So only Caterpillar and HP actually are on the BDS list, which is why I would like to receive the source as to where these are received, because nowhere on the BDS list is Intel, Microsoft, Facebook, Google, Apple, Nestle on there. So that is not actually a contradiction, one. So that is not correct. Two, it says, again, another member pointed this out, it says the specific clause in Article 9.1.2 on the positions book is just that it endorses BDS. So the reason why, why BDS in the first place? So BDS, for those of you guys who might not know, was actually a call to action, and it's a call for boycott, divestment, and sanctions. It was the year after the separation wall had been ruled illegal by the UN, and Israel continued to violate this in countless other resolutions, Geneva Conventions, and other international laws without consequence or any sign of progress via diplomacy or political negotiations. So just to be clear, the BDS is not a stance against Israel. It's not that this means that the CSU is against every single Israeli company. It does not mean that whatsoever. There's a distinction to be made between anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism, and they're not to be conflated. And also another point that was brought up, for those who claim that the CSU should not take a political stance, I hate to break it to you, but the CSU is a political organization. And so it is normal for us to uphold international rights, no matter what race they are, no matter what faith they have. All humans deserve dignity and human rights to be respected. And so that is simply all that it says. It is just a position. But again, nowhere does it say that we cannot do business with them, that we cannot, it just says that we do not support them. And so these were just major clarifications that needed to be said. Also, for counselors...
Okay, go off there. Do you want to be back on speaker?
Yes, please.
So I also wanted to clarify the positions book. It says in the positions book, a position should not be confused with the resolution mandating the execution of a specific task or action in a time-limited fashion. But it is more general, that it establishes a political culture. And so because of that, I think this shows us that BDS does not go far enough, but that it provides a good starting point to create a culture around the BDS movement, to show solidarity with Palestinian people and to be part of a global movement. This is it's not in the, as far as I know, it's not in any purchasing policies or something like that. So that is something that should be rather, if this were to actually be implemented, which of course isn't the goal here apparently, then that would be, I think, the way to go, rather than say through a motion like this. And I think that it would also be good for, since there seems to be some confusion in the room about BDS, and I know I myself also am not as knowledgeable about it in the context of that it's supposed to work at CSU, in the CSU context. And I think that it would be, for that, a good idea to, for example, have the people who ran the BDS question a couple years ago explain to us what they think, how this should have worked, like how we are supposed to work with this in CSU. Also, I think the part about CSU counselors not being able to use technology, that goes against, just the position in, not the position, but it goes, is not nonsensical in the way that counselors choose as an individual which products they buy, and then that's the question of how would that even work? Are we supposed to buy a whole new laptop for just council and all of that. So I think in that way it's also just nonsensical in that way. But I think I would say that it would be great to have clarification on how BDS is supposed to work in the CSU context, and it's important to continue having like but to make the distinction for the positions book, and if people want to follow this as is for CSU, to refer it back to policy or something for the purchasing policy.
Thank you. James?
Yeah, so, once again, I would like for everybody to kind of kill the motion. I think the purpose of it could make some good points when it comes to, once again, to the ridiculousness of, for example, a very the logical conclusion of enforcing BDS, but it's like, I just don't want this thing passed. I see a lot of problems with it, and if you could get me talking about how many problems I see with this motion and just the principle behind enforcing something like this, and enforcing BDS. You could get me on talking, but I'll probably exhaust my time and the room's time and everybody else's time. So just please, somebody call the question, and let's all vote no, or just motion to table indefinitely. Either of those is good.
Thank you. Salman?
Okay, thank you so much. So I will start off with when I read the motion before coming and before the movers moved the motion, I had the whole different idea of the motion itself. So I read the motion, I was like, okay, this is something, But when I heard the motivation of the mover, it was something they themselves, I would not say they, I would say the movers themselves didn't want to approve it. So that being said, the motion about the endorsement about BDS is not something I would say clear in the position book, and I agree to it at some extent, because what the position book is saying is they are endorsing BDS movement. That's it. What are the specifications? What are how we are endorsing it? It's just a public saying. The position book itself says a lot about labor. It says a lot about, if I just go on from the list, international affairs, climate change, climate justice. If I go on, it says a lot. Police brutality. So it's not just, position book is not there. It's there for some reason about representing CSU. It's the heart of CSU. What are our values? What is our perspective about the things going on? That being said, this motion it seems to have now a different idea by the mover, and I will say that we are not here to go again. We are the counselors. We are not here to go do something which is against referendum, because this was passed by referendum back in 2014, and I was one of the people who were there with this when this referendum was going on, and when this referendum was passed, and the idea, the policies that were made, that were worked on with this motion was really different. It was not attacking basis. It was just endorsing something that was going on outside the world.
Oh, sorry, I have to cut you off. It's 2 minutes. Do you want to be at the end of the speakers list? Okay. Melise? Okay, do we have a second for calling the question? Victoria, is there any opposition to calling the question? Okay, in that case, we'll move to a vote on the motion. So all those in favor of the motion, please raise your placards. 1.
Motion for what?
The one that was read by Matthew previously. Okay, so all those in favor of the motion, please raise your placards. Okay, so that's 0. All those opposed? 17, and any abstentions? 1, 2. Okay, so in that case, the motion fails. Is there anything else on this, James?
Yeah, so
Just to kind of end off, I think it's great that we got rid of this motion. I remember last year when it comes to the positions book, I think there's actually a part in the positions book where it says that this isn't supposed to be something that inspires actual policy, which makes me question the whole point of it, but that's another story. But it doesn't mean that it can't happen, and I know that last year, the sustainability report at the very last meeting tried to sneak in a motion to actually enforce BDS, and it got to put in a BDS policy with a purchasing guide, and it got scuttled. And I think it's good that this kind of vote happened again.
Thank you, Desiree. Oh, sorry, Salman. Sorry.
Yeah, I just since this referendum, we get rid of this referendum, I really want to emphasize on something. Our position book is a great thing that we have, and this is as I said, this is our core heart value that we have to respect it. But it's not like everything that is there is clear. It's clear, and I totally agree on some extent. Position book, we have to be as a policy committee member, I would really emphasize on policy committee to work on this thing, to clear the things endorsing. What does the endorsement means? How we are endorsing it. If we are just endorsing it as a public statement, or actually we are stopping funding the any committees. In club and space, we are stopping the giving the funds to these movement or anything. We have to clear that point out, so this thing doesn't come again in future, because we are not here representing ourselves, our emotion. We are here sitting representing 35,000 students, and as a representative, we have to listen, we have to think what they're also thinking. So respecting them, we should work on this position. We should clear the points regarding BDS, because this has been coming by the years, every year, and I think now it's the time we should clear the things out so it's easier for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Desiree, and then we're out of time.
Essentially, just to echo what everyone has said, it really opens up a discussion of why we have a positions book. As was mentioned, it's just guidelines. It's generally what students have decided was important for them at the time it was voted on. So yeah, I don't have to say anything else.
Thank you. In that case, Millie's, there's 30 more seconds. Okay, so if there's nothing further, we will move on to the bylaw changes meeting time. And Hirsch, this is your motion, so if you could start by reading it out, please. And I just posted it in the group.
I apologize, my laptop's a little slow.
I put it in the group if you can't pull it up.
Give it a minute, slowly. Whereas June and December meetings are at very inconvenient times. Whereas the budget is approved at the June meeting, giving the finance coordinator and executive team only a few days to prepare a budget for the whole year. Whereas the December meeting is during the exam period for the fall semester. Be it resolved that the policy committee be tasked with drafting amendments to the bylaws to change the time of those two meetings to a more convenient date.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Desiree, and your motivation first?
I really don't think it needs to be motivated. Unless Chris would like to motivate it, I don't know.
I mean, he's next if you have anything else to say.
No, not really.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so remember that December meeting nobody went to, we lost quorum? Let's make that never happen again. It's really dumb. There should never be a council meeting on a day when people have to pick between their exam and council. Another thing is the June meeting, it's very irresponsible to take a team of 8 people, none with any actual nonprofit experience, most likely, and tell them you have 1 week, or, well, Desiree, was it 1 week or 2 weeks?
Technically, it's a week, but
Yeah.
we all know my budget was late.
You have 1 week, make a budget.
Council.
It's irresponsible, and it's pretty sad how that budget's now haunting us for the whole year. There were maybe some fine tunings we could have made, things that we could have had more time to discuss as a team in terms of our plan. So I don't know what the solution is, but I love Hirsch's motion because it tasks us with finding a solution and bringing it to council.
Thank you. Hershey? Yes?
Just wanted to check, so do you guys wanted to add 2 more meetings or what? I just wanted to know what exactly this is.
It's going to be the policy committee that's going to draft some amendments, and then they're going to come back to council the policy committee is gonna look at it, make some recommendations that we haven't, like, they're not made yet, and then you'll know what the results are. Okay, yes.
So like, are we deciding to send this in a referendum for general elections?
It's just going to policy, and then policy has to make recommendations to change the bylaws, and then that's brought back to council, and that's voted on to go to referendum. So right now, we're just voting, it's very complicated to change
The
bylaws.
last point is it's going to referendum.
Yeah,
right?
that's the last. Hershey?
I was like, we are deciding on this right now.
I'd like to make some mileage.
Okay.
So, these are two times that, for the last, on December, I had a final exactly during council. That didn't work for me. However, I think it should be, the scope should be larger for all finals and midterms exams. The policy committee should, so I want to add an amendment that the policy committee should look into making it more convenient for council members during all midterms and final exams, periods.
Okay, is there a second for the amendment?
Yes, but I want to comment.
Yeah, I'll put you on the speakers list. Do you want to motivate Hershey? So there's an amendment on the table currently to have the policy look into, have the policy committee look into meeting times during all finals and midterms.
Yeah, I second that.
Okay. And your motivation?
My motivation is that we're students and we're here to study and get good grades. As in addition to that, we're also here to serve the student population. So we shouldn't feel pressure during those times and conflicted between these two duties. We should be able to focus 100% on CSU and on our final exams and midterm exams. And I believe, I have a lot of faith in the policy committee. They can figure something out that would work for everyone.
Thank you. Jeremiah?
Yeah, my comment earlier was going to be similar to that, except I was going to be more specific. I was going to bring up suggesting end of April, for example, and then he also brought up the midterms. That was also a good idea, but yeah, I was just trying to get more into specific dates.
Thank you. Chris? Oh, sorry, I thought you'd raise your hand again. Lauren?
Well, I just think that like everyone made a commitment to CSU, and like if you're talking about exams or choosing between studying, that's just time management skills. So I don't really see how an exam is an excuse or studying is an excuse. Like just manage your time, essentially.
Thank you. Okay, yes, Sama? Victoria?
I call the question.
So this is just on the amendment, right?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a second to calling the question? Can't see flagging that in.
Beautiful.
Oh, sorry, first. Is there any opposition to calling the question on the amendment, or do we want to keep talking about it? Okay, so in that case, we'll move to a vote on the amendment. So all those in favor to add the part about having policy committee look into changing meeting times for finals and midterms, please raise your placards.
What?
So, okay, so just because I see some confusion, so the amendment on the table is instead of just having the policy committee be tasked with drafting amendments to the bylaws to change the times of these two meetings, but to add on, be it resolved that the policy committee be tasked with drafting amendments to the bylaws to change the times of meetings that interfere with midterms and finals or something like that.
No.
Okay, so all those in favor of that amendment, please raise your placards. 5, all those opposed? 10, all right, any abstentions? 1, 2, okay, so the amendment fails and we're back on the main motion. And Jeremiah, you were next?
Well, no, I think it's all clear now. I think I was just raising to vote.
Okay, Peter? Did you have anything to say on the main motion?
Can we reiterate what the main motion was?
Oh, it's written in the group, but, so the motion is whereas June and December meetings are at very inconvenient times, whereas the budget's approved in June, giving the finance coordinator and executive only a few days to prepare the budget for the whole year, whereas the December meetings during the final exam period of the fall semester be a result of the policy committee be tasked with drafting amendments to the bylaws to change the time of these two meetings to a more convenient date. Salman?
You know, at this point, I would like. Okay, let's see like this way. Like I would like to first second my fellow counselor. I don't know who was it, Lauren, I think so. Because okay, so when we are running as a council or exec, we know that it's in the bylaws or standing regs that we have to commit ourselves once in a month or sometimes twice in a month, second week of the second Wednesday of that month. So technically we got this schedule a year ahead of us. So it's a good motion, but at the same time it's about how you are managing your workload and how you are managing your times. Yeah, if you have exam in that exact moment, yes, you are excused like automatically. But when it comes to like you just need time, because I think so last December meeting was one of the few meetings in last few years that it got postponed. I don't know, Chair is the one of the experienced one.
No, December happened last year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Okay.
the cancellation of the December meeting was, I think so, in the last 5 years. Last like this year was the first time it didn't happen. It happened in the last like 5 years of I have been here. So like it has people get the schedule ahead of time. People get the timings and everything. Schedule yourself. Like just saying.
Thank you.
I like the motion, but
James?
Yeah, no, see, I would very much disagree with the assertion that you can just time schedule or your way around it. I know for a fact that last year's meeting only happened because there was basically somebody threatened to get rid of, to screw with the election plans we had for January, and I was there. At the same time I was at the meeting, I wasn't paying attention to anything except for the election discussion because I was on there on my computer studying for my aerodynamics exam that I had at 9 a.m. the next day. And I needed to be there for quorum because quorum was reached, and then I came there. People went there because they wanted to kill online voting, and that was the only reason that it happened. This year it didn't happen because under normal circumstances, when there isn't something that extenuating, finals are very important. And when people have finals on the day, or even the next day at 9 a.m., you're not going to come. You're going to be studying for your exam. Not everybody has the luxury of taking 5 hours out of the day before their exam in order to come to council. And I think it's just common sense logic for people that are students to say, let's just not have a meeting literally during final season unless there's something extremely pressing. If there's something extremely pressing, we can call a special meeting. That's just it.
Thank you. Menachem?
Yeah, I'd like to amend it. I like part of the bill. There was an obvious concern regarding the date for the budget meeting. I'm new here, but Desiree mentioned that she was late when she was presenting her budget. Chris mentioned that was an issue, so to me it's obvious that there should be an amendment to that date. Regarding the final, however, yes, I mean we have the schedule in advance. We should be scheduling it. We should be aware of our schedule and be prepared for it. I know most of us didn't make it this time, but I'm sure that other semesters or the next dates coming up, we can make a note to ourselves to be on time and to be present.
Thank you. Did you actually want to amend the motion, or you were just motivating in favor
Well,
of?
I'd like to split it in two.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I'm only in favor of the rescheduling of the date for the budget.
Should we just split the question?
Yeah, the way it's written as
It's
well.
like two yeah.
It's also usually when you task policy committee with something, it's to look into like what the best options are, not just like council's. Well, actually, yeah, I guess you could if you want. Yeah, so it might be best to split. Yeah, it might be best to split the question into two, so one December and one June, and then deal with it that way. Actually, that's a pretty good idea now that I think about that. So there's a motion on the table to split the question. Is there a second? Hannah, is there any opposition to splitting the question? So first we'll deal with June, I guess, since it's the less controversial, and then we'll deal with December. Does that sound okay? Okay. So we'll just continue the discussion, and then we'll do the vote first on June and then December. Sorry?
June will not happen. Or
No, it's just like what to send to policy committee to draft new stuff about.
Why don't we just send all of
No,
them
I'm
to
continuing this one.
and-
Victoria?
I just wanted to say that like I understand the concern because like I wasn't there either in December, but the thing is that like our meetings are the first Wednesday of the month. So realistically, like if we moved it in December, even if we moved it to week 2 or week 3, like you're in exams and you're gonna move it to week 4, which is like the Christmas holiday. Like I don't know about you, but I'm not trying to come in. You're not trying to come in. I understand last year with the whole online opt-out question, having 6 people show up, it was problematic. But the thing is that realistically, we are in charge, right? So if 6 people come in on that day, they decide they want something, and the rest of us are like, okay, no, like, we don't agree with that, we can always pull those minutes and rediscuss it. So yes, it might not be the most, like, effective way of doing things, but at the end of the day, like, yeah, our school does come first and whatnot, but by changing the date or having someone, like, discuss what's a better date, the reality is that 30 people, you're not going to find a date that's going to, like, coincide with everybody's exam and everything else everybody else is doing, because you have to consider internships and things like that as well. So as much as I understand the concern, as much as I understand, like, okay, like, December is not like the best time and like it gets hectic, I don't see why we would change it, because you're prepared. Like everybody else said, like my colleague Lauren had said, if you know it's on this date and you have an exam on whatever, like, again, time management, figure out what you have to do, like stay up a few nights before, come to the meeting for that part only, like, you know, like come to the class and then like do your homework and only participate in what you have to participate for. Like, you are here, but you can choose what you do. Half of us are on our computer and Facebook anyways, as you can tell. Most people have their computers open. So if you're going to tell me you can't sit here and do your homework, well then you're lying to yourself, and don't play yourself like that, girls. It ain't nice.
Well, someone mentioned that you should better planning and, you know, just arrange your schedule properly. I'm just curious how one does that with the final exam. I mean, I had to reschedule a final exam this past semester, and it's basically entirely up to the discretion of your professor in most cases, and there is no way of getting around that. If your professor does not want to write you an alternate exam because they just don't want to do the extra work, unless you're going to bribe them, there's no way of getting them to do that. So I'm a little confused.
I was really a question, sorry. Isaiah?
In terms of having sat on other boards, like we're all students. We know exam period, like hosting a meeting. There was a suggestion that maybe we should do an SCM, because we all know it's easy to sit now and say, because I was one of the people who showed up for the meeting. We didn't hit quorum. The only reason that we didn't hit quorum because people had exams. People, like, you can't plan for your finals. So like having a rule to be like, oh, everybody show up, and just waste time, waste energy, waste people to be like, are you coming? Are you coming? Creating polls when you know you're not going to come. Just make it optional. Make it like, if we have something that needs to take someone away from a final, call an SCM. We do it anyway. We did it in September. We can do it in December, and let people focus on their exams. So I'm like, just remove the mandatory meeting in maybe December, and then if pressing issues, we call an SCM in December, in which we know that, okay, like, we don't have to like guess, we can see who can come and do a meeting.
Thank you. Desiree?
I call the June question.
Okay, do we have a second for calling the question? Victoria, is there any opposition to voting on the June question? So that would be to send to, how is it worded? It would be to task the policy committee with drafting an amendment to the bylaws to change the time of the June council meeting. So all those in favor, please raise your placards.
Just letting you know.
14, all those opposed. In opposition, 0, and any abstentions? 1, 2. Alright, so that carries, and we're back on the discussion for the December meeting. So policy committee, take note, you have been tasked with something. Hershey.
The December, yeah, I just wanted to call the question, but I guess.
I mean, you can.
Can I? Yeah.
Yep.
I want to call the question. We've been talking about this for a while.
Okay.
Everyone has made their points of view known.
Is there a second for calling the question? Lee? Is there any opposition to calling the question? Okay, so in that case, we'll move to a vote on calling the question. So all those in favor of calling the question, please raise your placards. 4, 5. All those opposed? 1, and any abstention?
There's a question.
1, 2,
Wait, I
3.
forgot to oppose.
Oh, okay. Okay, so can we just do this again? Okay, so folks, so this is just for calling the question, so we're not voting on the motion itself. So all those who would like to stop discussion and then vote on the motion, please raise your placards.
Thank you.
14, all those opposed. 1, and any abstentions? 0. Sorry about that. I always forget there's new counselors too in the room, so I know I need to slow it down a little bit. Yes, Peter?
I've got abstention for the just one.
Okay. Oh, you want it noted?
Yeah.
Okay, not a problem. Okay, so the question's been called with a 2/3. So all those in favor of tasking the policy committee with drafting amendments to the bylaws to change the time of the December meeting to a more convenient date, please raise your placards. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All those opposed? 1, 2, and any abstentions? 5. Okay, so that carries. The policy committee will look into this. All right. So at this point, we are on, if there's nothing further on bylaw changes, we are on the bathroom committee motion. And Chris, this one is yours.
Super excited about this one. Attention everybody, I am posting the motion in the Facebook. Yeah, sorry about it. So, we're asked to cut the crap slate, ran on the primary platform of cleaner bathrooms at Concordia University. We're asked the Concordia administration will be putting out a public tender for a new cleaning contract this January. Be it resolved that an ad hoc clean bathrooms committee, chaired by the general coordinator, me, be formed to advise and assist the general coordinator moving forward on this issue. Be it further resolved that the committee membership be open to all Concordia students who attend the committee meetings. And be it further resolved that the budgetary impact of this motion is 0.
All right, do we have a second for the motion? Hirsch, your motivation, Chris?
Yeah, so first of all, I got word very recently from Roger Cote, the VP Services of Concordia, that there is going to be a public tender going out in January. And that means we're basically going, okay, cleaning contract, people who clean the bathrooms, your time is up. We're putting out a new request for the person who's going to take over cleaning. It could be the same company, which is currently GDI. They actually do the airports in Montreal. They do a lot of big contracts. Now, where our power is as an institution, as Concordia, is deciding what's in that request for proposals. So what do companies need to be able to do for us? And that is where I'm going to be part of the process and where I'd like other students to be getting involved. And when I say other students, the membership's open to everybody. That means if everyone in this room wants to attend the meetings, you're attending and you're voting. If random people who've never been involved in CSU stuff want to be there, they're allowed to be there. It's instead of having this competition thing where everybody needs to compete for a place, it's whoever cares and shows up will be making the decisions on this committee.
Point of information.
Is it super pressing?
I can wait.
Okay.
Yeah, and basically the whole thing is I'm doing this right now no matter what, but I'd like people to talk to about it, especially students, to see what they care about the most, because I find when I speak to especially random people, I hear new things I never heard before. Last year I was like thinking that the hall bathrooms were the only gross ones, but then people from JMSB were like, no, the JMSB bathrooms are pretty gross too. And I was like, really? And then I went to go check it out and I was like, oh, they're gross. And then other people were like, it's true. And then people at Loyola are like, well, our bathrooms smell like mold. And I'm like, really? And then I checked it out and they do. So it's, so really to get, and what I imagine is that we create events for these committee meetings and we go, everybody come talk about it. We're going to share what we're doing and maybe even get Roger Cote to show up to one of these events so we can talk to the students who actually have to use the bathrooms that he's in charge of administrating. So that's the motion.
Thank you. Maha?
Thank you. Well, before I actually have 2 points of information. One, so we've already signed the contract, correct? About the, so
No.
Nothing's been negotiated yet?
No.
So then the whole point of this committee would be to negotiate it by a certain set deadline for us to sign the bathroom cleanliness contract by when?
So the way it's working is in the 3rd week of January, Roger's going to have a draft ready that states what we're looking for in a contractor. So every time you're getting a contractor and you're a public institution, you have to put a public notice saying, we need someone who could clean this many bathrooms at this speed, at this capacity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what Roger and I came to discuss is maybe how that could be changed. So I don't really know what this looks like yet. I'd never looked at a public tender before. Apparently it's a long 100-page document, but he's going to walk me through it. And I really think having the opinions of many students while I'm going through this process would help me.
But you need it by the 3rd week of January, correct?
That's when I'm first meeting with Roger, and then it's going to be moving pretty fast from there. So that's my first meeting with Roger. He's going to show me what they put together. And then from there, I could suggest maybe you should change this, maybe you should change that. Maybe he'll allow me to show it to other people, maybe he won't. I don't know how the confidentiality of that works. But I'm pretty sure like there's a way to get people involved.
Okay, now I can
Yep, go ahead.
Perfect. Well, first news, this is great. I'm glad that we're finally getting like ahead with clean bathrooms. However, yes, I hope that it's not just halls. We work for the Concordia Student Union, which encompasses all buildings and all campuses. And so naturally this contract, I expect it to cover all of the buildings and both campuses. Now secondly, the team has been working, this has been a part of your slate for the past, since May. You have been supposedly working on this for 6 months, and so I suppose I was just a bit confused as to why create a committee when technically I would have just assumed that all of the technicalities as to what we want, we can't just say we want cleaner bathrooms and then not have thought at all about what that means. Not have thought at all about what is going to be the frequency, how are we going to tackle this, or like a realistic solution. And so especially if the contract is going to be negotiated, we want this done as soon as possible. And I suppose I was just expecting for some of these finer details to have already been worked out, especially since this has been going on for the past 6 months that you have been working on this supposedly. And so the fact that now we've got, so if we create another committee, so this is already under your purview, and now you want to create a committee to help you with this. And so, but then when will the findings actually be put into place? And when will this contract be signed? Because this, again, needs to be done as soon as possible.
I mean, it's all operating at the pace that Concordia University decides, and they don't seem to have decided on a specific dates because they need to be flexible, you know, things aren't always predictable. But what's really important is that months ago they told me they want to include me in this process, and instead of just keeping it me at the table, because I could realistically keep it that way, I'm an executive, it makes sense, it's usually how things are done, but I thought instead of just keeping it to me, why not have other people to talk to, other students during this process, including all of council and including the greater student body. So it's really just a way to get more people involved with what I was already doing.
Thank you. Elise? Oh, I thought I saw your placard up. No? Okay, sorry. Hannah?
Was I on? Oh, Emerson.
Okay, Salman?
Yes. I have 2 points of information from the GC. First one is this company, which you said GDI, whichever company is it, who is working currently, they are just employed for bathroom cleaning or the whole Concordia University?
The whole maintenance, cleaning, everything.
So everything is being shut down and tender is being made for a new company for the whole university?
Yeah, and the previous one will most likely be applying again.
Okay.
That's how it works with a public institution. Every few years, at a set interval, I believe ours is 2 or 3, I'm not sure. But every few years, you need to put out a new public tender. It says a bunch of qualifications, and every company in Montreal that can handle what's in the tender is able to apply. And then GDI, for example, they would have to keep on applying to this every time.
So it's not just bathroom, it's just specific. It's not just specific to bathroom. It's just the whole cleaning up, maintenance.
It's our
is
whole
being changed.
cleaning operation.
Okay, perfect. Second, regarding the when you mentioned the membership is open to all, like everyone is going to be able to vote on this, and what type of discussions and planning you would be doing in the committee that the students or counselors have to vote on?
Yeah, I kept it vague to keep it open-ended, mostly because I don't know what the process is going to look like yet, but I just want to have an outlet to publicly reach out to students and talk about the bathrooms.
So like these students who are coming in and they will be ratified by the council, how the process is going to work? Because
there's no ratification. Everybody who shows up who's a valid Concordia student is part of the committee.
You're going to check that?
I mean, I'm going to take people on good faith, honestly, but like I don't see any reason why someone would want to fake being a Concordia student to talk about bathrooms.
Good faith will be voting for the...
But it's going to be minor things. It's going to be like, hey, I'm discussing this next week. What do you want me to talk about?
Okay.
It's going to be things like that. It's not going to be very. It's not like
not big stuff.
It's not like an appointment committee thing, or like where big decisions
Just
are
to
made.
clarify for the room, are you talking about a public consultation?
Yeah.
It's pretty much that in a committee.
Okay.
Hershey.
With the
Oh,
voting
sorry,
power.
your speaking time's up. Hershey.
I rescind.
Yes.
I rescind the
Okay. James.
Yeah, so basically, you said it first, this is essentially just a glorified public consultation, and it's getting the bathrooms done, so, you know what? Have at it, man. And let's vote in favor. Have at it.
All right.
You think you can manage this? There we go.
Lauren?
Point of information, like, I was just wondering, like, is this committee, like, I know that your focus is on the contract and, like, getting the general, like,
Alright,
public,
folks, there's a counselor speaking. I hear a lot of chit chat going around.
and getting the public involved, but, like, are you gonna do anything at all about just encouraging students to pick up after themselves? Like, is the issue, like, necessarily, like, are cleaning companies doing a bad job, or, like, our students are just messy?
Well, you see, that's exactly what I mean. Every time I talk to somebody, they have something different to say, right? And if someone were to come to the committee and say that, I'd be like, hey, maybe we should do something about that, and we could talk about further how we could go down that path. But that's what I mean. It's about getting the public involved with their ideas that we're pretty closed off to at this point because,
So your committee's gonna encompass.
yeah, all encompassing.
Thank you. Matthew?
I just had like a general question because I do believe there is a mix between like the various companies that are involved in cleaning our facilities. I think that it's partially their fault in maybe not doing their job as you know as they intended to do so. But I also do think the students are partially responsible for what's going on from what I've seen mainly on social media. And for that reason, I think this committee should also discuss various ways to work with the administration for perhaps cracking down on some of the mischievous things that students have done to make the facilities a little bit less presentable.
Hospitable.
Yeah, so
Victoria.
Okay, before tackling, I guess, or having a solid solution, you have to, I feel like you really need to truly understand the problem, and obviously the problem is the bathrooms are dirty, but like, why are they dirty? And like, yeah, having a better cleaning system might work, but like everyone else was saying, like, we do have a lot of homeless people that go in there, we do have a lot of like non-students that go there, and like that should be something else that needs to be tackled, obviously, in it as well, but like, I feel like there's so many more issues. Having an open meeting where just anybody can come, I don't see how that's gonna put us onto the right path. It's just gonna bring up more problems and more like, I guess, nitty-pickies maybe. I don't see how this is gonna be a productive necessarily moving forward. I just wanted to kind of put that out there, but yeah.
Thank you. Howard?
Okay, just a point of information. Chris, as you said, this is a large-scale event, and you consult with various organizations on cleaning the bathrooms. How would the budgetary impact be nil? Wouldn't you be required to have funds to carry out these tasks?
Yeah, Desiree, do you want to
use your discretionary fund to?
Yeah, actually, I have a discretionary fund. I haven't used it, so that's where we're gonna use it.
It's true, he hasn't used it at all.
How much money do you have in it?
$500.
$100?
Oh, okay, thank you.
So I'll get Timbits. We're all good.
All right, thank you. Desiree?
I call the question.
Okay, do we have a second for calling the question? Patrick, is there any opposition to calling the question? Okay, so in that case, we'll move to a vote for calling the question. So all those in favor of taking a vote, please raise their placards.
For what?
For the motion on the table currently.
Okay, good.
So we're just voting if we want to vote.
Yeah.
I know, I said that.
17, all those opposed? 1, and any abstentions. Okay, so in that case, do you have a question, Peter? Oh, abstention. Okay. All right, thank you.
If I can make a quick point here.
We just have to move to a vote first.
I didn't say opposed.
Sorry?
Was it noted that I said opposed?
Oh, I mean, only if you want it to be noted. Like I.
No, I wasn't opposed.
Oh, no, I know. There was one opposition. Yeah. Okay, all right.
Point of information though.
Yes.
So there's one word that's missing in the motion. It talks about the budget, but there's no mention about timing. So if this is an ad hoc committee, how long would it be running for? When would the results be put into a contract? Again, this needs to be done preferably before the end of the semester so that students who voted on the matter can actually see it come to fruition. So none of that is actually mentioned.
Although I get your point, those are all things that should have been discussed during the discussion period. So now we've called the question, so we have to move to a vote. I know it's just how it goes. All right. So all those in favor of the motion, please raise your placards. 16, all those opposed? 0, and any abstentions? 1, 2, 3. And do you want yours noted, Peter? All right, perfect. So the motion carries.
I have a question.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Jeremiah?
Chris, are we doing the assignment for the committee today, or is it going to
No,
be
it's
another time?
open. The way it works is it's open to everyone, so everyone here can show up to the meeting.
Point of information.
Yes.
So how you're planning to put this out, like when you are doing this meeting?
I mean, I gotta wait. I'm currently scheduling a meeting with Roger, so it really depends on how that works out, right?
So you, like, my question is where and how you're gonna announce it to the public?
Oh, CSU
public
Facebook page.
Because I just don't want it to reveal personal stuff like
And Councilor Facebook page.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this point?
Point of information.
Yes.
Just out of ignorance, isn't there like a Concordia property manager that's supposed to be looking at this, keeping the vendors in check that are hired by the school? It's an ignorant question.
Never say ignorant.
No, it's not.
It is not. Don't.
Well,
don't
yeah,
put yourself down.
Based on no information, I mean.
I mean, there's the Concordia.
Ignorant the way it's defined in the dictionary.
All right, Chris, do you want to?
Yeah, there's the Concordia VP Services who I'm meeting with, right?
Yeah.
So I'm working with him to make sure that students have their input into the decisions that he makes.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah, correction, out of ignorance.
All right, so if there's nothing further on the bathroom committee motion, we'll move on to the general coordinator reports. And Maha, this one's yours.
Thank you. So I was looking over the general coordinators, both December and January reports, and there was something that was missing. Now, for some of you who may not know, the last committee meeting I attended, council meeting I attended, was in November, and afterwards I had to recuse myself due to personal reasons. But at the meeting that I attended, there was a motion that was passed about having 3 candidates submitted by the GC at the next council meeting. And even though I was not at the second council meeting in November, now even though I was not present at that council meeting, there was no mention whatsoever of any candidates. So I suppose my question is this: when council imposes a deadline, do you view it as a suggestion, or do you actually take
tone that down, please.
our motion
I can answer that suggestion.
just because, so if ever someone violates a motion or fails to respect a deadline passed by the entirety of council, what is then to happen? Or do we have any news on it? Because nothing as well was mentioned in the following reports.
Do you want to respond?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think my main question is why didn't you just send me an email asking this like a while ago instead of waiting until council to bring it up? Because if you don't ask me right away, if you don't ask me right away, if people don't ask me right away, I don't have time to respond or correct my mistake. However, if you wait until council and spring it on me, you haven't given me adequate time to correct the mistake. So the question I have is, do you want the mistake corrected, or do you just want to bring it up at council and make a big deal out of it?
Okay, I feel like this is going way into the personal. It's not a question. Are you good?
I mean, I think the last thing is I'd be happy to add it to my report and explain myself if council wants me to, because I did not intend anything badly in this situation. And yeah.
That's a much better response. Go to start
Thank you.
with that one.
Hannah?
Yeah, I also think that keeps coming up, that we should just go talk to the executive directly. But this is something that council mandated, and so because of that, I think that it should have just been in the report without us even having to bring it up. Where it should have been mentioned in some capacity. It should have been at least like if there's no news, just put it on the agenda, or as a side note or do a one-liner in the report. No news, I will report back once I have news. But we should not have to basically almost chase executives for updates on something that is their job to do. The report is supposed to be an update on the work they have been doing. And so because of that, I think that this argument that keeps coming up of we should have reached out before is not a legitimate one when it comes to things that have been that council mandated. That is the job of the executive, that the executives are paid to do.
Thank you. Victoria?
As a matter of just respect, I guess, the fact that she pulled out the minutes now and whatever, any time that she does it, regardless on when she does it or when she did it, her obligation is to tell you when you made a mistake or to talk to you if you have to fix something. All you have to do is fix it. That was it. That's the whole discussion. So sitting there and saying like, oh, this is like whatever, like I'm gonna repeat what you said, but on the borderline of saying like this is an attack or this is something that could have been dealt with prior, I just feel like that like you just let your emotions maybe for a minute get the best of you.
Let's not get into
No,
that.
but I'm sorry if that's disrespectful. In nicer words, I don't have any. So what I'm trying to say essentially is just like she's addressing what it is. You can fix it and it'll be done, and that it is what it is. You know, like we don't have to. That's all I want to say.
Thank you. Rishi?
Yeah, so far we've been focusing on the past. What I'm wondering, and I think all the new counselors are wondering, what's the plan for this coordinator? What's the plan?
Do you want to respond?
Yeah, of course. So first of all, I think Hannah and Victoria brought up great points, and I agree, it should be in the report. Moving forward, if it isn't, and I apologize if it isn't, I mean, send me a message, and then if I don't do something about it, that is an issue, and you should bring it up in council. Another thing is, I mean, I think moving forward, what I need to do is I need to fix the report and submit it next meeting with the correct information in it. So that's what I'm going to do.
What I meant to ask is about the coordinator. Are we gonna get someone, or what's
Oh,
like
the
the plan?
sustainability coordinator.
Yeah, what's the plan
sorry, I got
for the
confused
future?
on that.
What was the reason that, what was the motion? Point of information?
Yes.
I would like to ask the fellow councillor Maha, what was the motion that we,
It was
like
the
three
motion.
candidates for what, like
We set
the
so
ASPA counts?
council set a deadline for the GC to submit 3 candidates for the sustainability coordinator on the meeting of November 27th. Not only was that not done, there was no
All right, I
reporting
mean,
of
here's
it.
the question. Chris?
So
Yeah.
You respond to Hershey's question?
To that question, what my colleague said, for some reason it didn't happen. So I'm wondering, in the future, when will that happen, or how that will happen? What's the plan on
Yeah.
that?
So, I don't want to put anybody anywhere, but basically there's a disagreement in the executive team right now on, there's 2 paths that we could take. Either appointing someone or just not appointing anybody. And I really want to give my team some time to like we haven't been able to meet since the holidays when we started talking about this. First we were like, let's just appoint somebody, and then it got late and we're like, maybe it's late in the year, maybe we shouldn't appoint anybody at this point, maybe we'll cause more problems than fix. So that's where we are honestly as a team right now, and yeah, that's why I didn't have an answer on it, because I didn't want to put anything in the report that isn't definitive or decided when we don't have a decision.
Maha? Your speaker too?
So I suppose I wanted to address something that was said. Again, I really hope that nothing is... Alright, so for something to be taken out of proportion or to be escalated and viewed as a personal attack, that is up to the person's own personal prerogative. However, as council's duty is to call out certain things, when council as a whole imposes a motion, it is expected to be carried out. And so that is why it is brought up again in council and not as in a personal context. Now, second of all, if ever you have nothing to say on the matter, that you could just simply, if ever you have to report back to council though. If ever we impose a deadline that you are unable to meet for whatever reason whatsoever, it is your duty to justify that to council and just to say it. And the fact that that has not been done is what we are calling out. So now, what do you have anything to report on the matter, or what can be done in the future to prevent something like this from happening again? Because again, this has been now since July, since the sustainability coordinator position has been vacant.
Oh, wait, are we on? Yeah, are we asking about sustainability coordinator now, or about sustainability coordinator?
Yeah, that's always what we've been talking about.
I mean, I just gave the update. Like, my team is undecided on the matter at the moment.
Do you have 3 candidates to present to council?
I mean, we're between deciding if we even want to appoint anyone at all. That's where we are right now, and that is, we've clarified, that is the prerogative of the general coordinator. Council can't mandate the executive to appoint a sustainability coordinator.
Thank you. Hirsch.
Well, sorry, point of information, why can't we, if we're in charge of ensuring that everything runs correctly?
Because it's in the bylaws and it was sent to judicial board and it
Oh,
was
that's true,
judicial board.
sorry, I forgot about that. PTSD,
Hirsch.
please don't.
Alright, so this is a fun discussion and one we're all enjoying a lot. Just curious what, like, if we vote yes or no on ratifying a document that contains no motions and it's basically just information that Chris has been giving to us, what is actually the impact?
We're just accepting the report from council. Like, if you wouldn't, if the report is not ratified by council, usually, like, all the time, the motion is like, council moves to table the report to next meeting and have the GC add certain amendments to it. But beyond that, like, there's no effect to not ratifying. It's just accepting what's in it by council. So there's no motions or anything. It's just procedure.
Oh. Okay, thank
you. No problem. Selena?
So what I don't get from this motion is what exactly is being put on the table. I don't understand if it's more like complaining that he didn't already provide the necessary things that were supposed to be provided in council. So I don't know what motion that you're trying to provide for us here, for us to vote for.
Just for procedural, usually the way it works is that documents are sent to a consent agenda, and I probably should have explained this better to new councilors. And then what happens is that if council has any questions or anything that they want to ask before the ratification, because the actual ratification of all the documents happens when we approve the agenda. So we say I move to approve the agenda and all items under consent. But if there's something you want to discuss before ratifying it, then a councilor will pull it out, and that's what we're doing right now. So it's just kind of a procedural thing. And then once the discussion is exhausted, council will move to either ratify the report or send it back to the GC and say, we'll ratify it next time, please make X, Y, Z amendment. Does that make sense? Perfect. Do you have any other questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Esther? Patrick?
I just feel that aren't we supposed to be speaking through the chair? Because all I've been
Yes.
hearing in this discussion was a lot of you, and I felt like when I was hearing that, I felt that it was kind of an attack, and I feel that we should be. I'm also like somebody who's hasn't been perfect at that, and I just like to say that maybe we should be talking to each other more nicely. And I also have done that in the past, and just, anyways, that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, point noted, we'll crack down. Hannah?
Yeah, I just want to mention, the executive is, like councillors, supposed to work in the best interest of the union, and I'm just questioning whether delaying this for such a long time, delaying this appointment of a sustainability coordinator and basically not presenting the council with any actual updates is really in the best interest of the union without, like, at least if it's not, if we don't hear anything about it. And yeah, I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. So with that, we've exhausted the speakers list, so we either need a vote to ratify or to request amendments, which, from what I get from discussion, aren't really what council's looking for. Hirsch?
Motion to ratify.
Okay, do we have a second? Seconded by Sean. So all those in favor of ratifying the two reports, please raise your placards. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All those opposed? 1, 5. And any abstentions? 1, 2, 3. All right, so the motion to ratify carries. And if there's nothing further on the general coordinator reports, then we can move on to the Loyola coordinator report. And Hannah, this one was yours.
Yeah, that was mostly a question also to Desiree, because I'm unsure. In their report, the Loyola coordinator said that the executives weren't being paid during the holiday period, and from what I saw in the budget, like, there was payment scheduled for that time, and it's a salaried position, so I just wanted to clarify if there's, like, if executives are paid over the holidays or paid between that time, and
I have to make sure, but I think we are.
We were paid the 24th.
We were paid the 24th, and concerning, I know payroll is happening this upcoming Thursday, which is tomorrow. I think we're paid, but I'm not sure.
So then I just want to ask, like, then I just want to clarify that in that case, if execs are getting paid, then work should have been done during that time, or at least the report should have stated in a little while. I know that it's the holidays and of course nobody's in the office, but then the report shouldn't state that they haven't been doing any work because they're not getting paid, since that is then false information.
Thank you. Hirsch?
Correct me if I'm wrong. This is a question to Anna. Correct me if I'm wrong. There is a legal requirement to pay for your employees even if they take holiday. For TAs here, we don't get that, which is actually why our salaries are bumped up by a certain percentage. So we can rearrange the money a different way if we want, but.
I mean, it's a bit related, but it's just the idea that our pay is salaried, right? And the point of salary pay is that you're not paying someone by the hour, and you're just paying them a flat amount, and you spread it equally throughout time. So yes, work may have not been done during the holiday for some executives, but also I would imagine many of the executives on my team, if not all, have been working on weekends, have been working nights, have been working early mornings. I've seen people in the office probably more than the 35 hours a week that they're paid for during the semester. So you can't really judge someone who's salary paid by how many hours they were working in a particular period. It's more about, like, what you need to judge is their performance in general, right?
Thank you.
Can I?
Yeah. Yeah, it's your next.
Yeah, that's not at all what I was implying or anything. I just want to, that then in that case, if people are being paid, that just no false information is in the report. That was the only thing I completely, like, of course, y'all are working so much, and of course the holidays are the holidays, but that in that case, it doesn't say in the report that executives were being paid when they were not being paid when they actually were. That's just the only info, the only thing that I was questioning, not work or anything.
Thank you. Isaiah?
Motion to have the Loyola coordinator's report amended to remove the line about work not being done or rephrased to a more appropriate sense of a slow period or whatever.
All right, do we have a second? Elizabeth, is there any opposition to having the Loyola coordinator report resubmitted with the amendment? Perfect, so that carries. Millie's? Yeah, since it's your report.
Just remove the line about not being paid.
Perfect. All right. So if there's nothing further on the Loyola report, we're at new business informational. And Salman, did you want to deal with A now?
Oh, as I said, I forgot about
Okay.
it, so I will,
Do you want to table it or table
yes,
it
please.
indefinitely? Or
No, table it because, you know what? I will just talk on it a bit.
you want to table it or?
No, I will just talk on something. So just to get rid of this.
Okay.
It's not something too special.
And there's no motion.
There's no motion. It's just some. Okay. So these are some points that I thought about this like 3 months ago now, and this was being tabled. So as we all know that we have like an office now. So this office that we have been given is not just like we are not taking any productive use of it. So it's just there. We usually go. We usually study or hang out over there. Or there's no like productive use of that office at this moment. So what I was just proposing is like first office, like this council office should be advertised, or I don't know how to say it, like to the public, to the students. Like right now that office doesn't have anything saying outside that this is the office hour, this is a council office. Just give me a sec. I just made something that should be in my bag. Okay, guys. Sorry for that, I was not prepared for this. I just came in. Do I have it? Sorry, do I have it? Please. I should have it. What? Okay. I don't have it. So I made some things like a sign outside of that room that we have to display that this is the council office. This should also go on the website and also should be advertised in the CSU Facebook or social media that council is available for students now, and these office there is like this office where students can go. Secondly, to that, adding to that, it was the office hours that I planned to make for the counselors, that there should be like the list of the counselors with their faculty and everything that should be hanged or that should be displayed outside of that room. So if there are students or any for Club and Space Committee, for any association that want to come and speak to the Club and Space Committee members, they can come and speak to them. Something like this. The second point. The third point was, what was it? Yeah, the counselor official email. Like, I don't know if I can get access to this, but I was speaking to the ID coordinator of CSU, Kamal, and I spoke to him about how, right now we have something very unofficial like Facebook, where we Facebook group where we share our things, or we have these CSU emails that goes off automatically when we are done with our mandate. So there is no institutional memory of council. So what councillors have achieved in their years, there is no institutional memory, there is nothing. Like, just say for example, if there's a finance coordinator, journal coordinator, or external coordinator, they all have an institutional email, like finance@csu.qc.ca, or external or internal. So they have a record of what they have been doing. So I wanted to make something like council at the rate of csu.qc.ca. So in that case, we will have an institutional memory of council doing any conversation with anyone, and also to make it's in our OneDrive, where we can make a folder, which I cannot explain. I have to show. And I'm not prepared with that, but where we can store everything, where we can store and share all our files, all our agendas over there. So if next year someone is coming, new counselors are coming, they will be given this ID, and they will be given this access to that folder, and it's totally secured. I already spoke to Kamal about it. It's totally secured. Exec will not have access to that. No students will have access to that. No admin will have access to that. That will be just for the counselors, and it is very secure for us to share the files and keep the constitutional memory in that. I think so. That was all. That was just these are some points that I wanted to do for the council to look more professional, to look more available to students, with office hours and with office displaying for the students, so they know beside exec of CSU, they can also reach out to the council, because we were answerable to all the students. That's it.
Thank you. Isaiah?
If anyone have any question, go ahead.
But
Sorry.
what's it called? So on that note, especially with some wanting the more professional look and getting counselors more out there, one of our employees in Ed's comms department is taking the time to really do those headshots. So if the people, thank you to everyone who's already done their headshot, but please, if you could stop by tomorrow or Friday at some point, reach out to me, Ed, and set it up with Melvin, so that we can get those headshots and really put a face to the people representing the student body. And then the only amendment, maybe it would be nice if you guys had one email, kind of like how Desiree and I share the BIPOC drive, but if you're going to use it for communication, you might want to make maybe an arts and science one, a JMSB one, an ECA, all four shared drives, and kind of then maybe keep your individual ones linked to that or some type of fashion. But yeah, you guys represent students who put you here, so it'd be nice if they knew who you guys were.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah, just a great idea. I love the initiative. I love the passion. These little personal projects are probably what make the most impact in organizations, so good on you. And I really think you should get Melvin to take a picture of you and some counselors outside the office sometime, so we can put that on our social media and get the word out there that a council office exists.
Thank you. Sean?
I can kind of see some of the motivation for this motion, this project, namely
to get counselors much more visible to the general population. I'm not sure if it's necessarily the best way to go, but what I want to elaborate on is it's something that I found a lot when during the election when I was campaigning and when I was talking to engineering students, and it's also a sentiment that I have also personally felt in prior years, that to many students, council is just this organization, or at least for engineering students specifically, this sort of organization that they're not necessarily familiar with, that they don't really know about, that doesn't really necessarily mean much to them. And I think that trying to really, I guess you can say, put ourselves out there more, trying to give students a way to actually communicate with us. Perhaps a digital method in today's day and age would also be very appropriate. But this idea of trying to make us more visible, make us more identifiable and personable is something that really is worth pursuing.
Someone brought up a very good point about, I would say, institutional memory, especially for counselors, because like the points of institutional memory in our organization when it comes to what's gone on in council is pretty much Caitlin. I don't believe there's a OneDrive that has all previous documents like executive reports or anything. And that's also been an issue for executives ourselves, actually. We'd have to ask Caitlin about something if we wanted something from previous years, and like maybe having a OneDrive where she can also upload documents that would make some sense, just like an easy place. Previous years would probably have to be done by someone else, but anyways, I think that's a very good point that was raised, and it's been a source of frustration for a lot of us because we've had to chase down documents in the past. But yeah, I appreciate what he's brought up.
Thank you. Desiree?
Yeah, cool. And to piggyback, it's to have a council OneDrive. It would be really good to have somewhere where all the motions, the minutes, the council packages are put. So that's cool. Regarding who would have access to it, it would be up to discussion, because for sure, like counselors should have their own private discussions, but I would like to have access to somewhere where all the minutes and council packages are for historical reason. So I think maybe a committee would be good at this point, because I think everyone's generally in favor of having something. But it's, is there a motion on the table?
No.
Okay, you're just
mentioning
you're next on the.
Are you?
Kind of done, yeah.
So like since people started speaking on this, thank you so much for appreciating this work. By the way, so what I was talking about when I was talking about the OneDrive, so this is a SharePoint. I think so. I don't know, but like I don't know how many of you have ever seen the SharePoint, because the SharePoint is the email that we have been given by the CSU. If you go over there, if you go to the SharePoint, there's one everyone, and there's one Concordia Student Union team site, which the council have access to. There's only execs can have access to, and there is none for council. So yeah, second to Patrick, exec. So like he's right. So like we don't have any institutional memory when it comes to the council, what we have done, what we have achieved. And when the next year comes, we are running after minutes of the meeting and this and that. So like this is very it's good and it's bad too. And when I was talking about the council email itself, because the email that is given to me, just for example, sfahim@csu.qc.ca, it will be done once my mandate is over. That email will be like, I don't know, garbage. Like everything in it, every information in it will be garbage. So having a specific email is good. That's what I wanted to add. And yes, like to answer to this question, it was, I was working on this. I'm still working on it. If anyone, I don't want to make a committee. I don't want to increase the work of policy or anyone. I'm working on this. If anyone would like to work on this with me, they can reach out to me. Like everyone knows my information, so they can reach out to me. We can work on it. We can make it more look like we can make us look more good to the students.
Thank you. Peter?
Okay, so I just want to say a few things. First of all, like, I think that if we wanted to do this, like, I really suggest that we need to have, like, specific council hours, like when like each of us will be in the office, like and I really suggest that if I think of doing this, we need to really going out of to the student and let the student know that we have, because I know one of the main things for fine art specifically, and I think also for chemistry and other things, that like some of us like couldn't be heard by the student, and that like to the student they feel like that we're only here, but like they either don't know how to get to us, or they have no idea what to do, like who we should talk to, what we should do with the whole council thing. Like they know that council exists, but they just have no idea like how we do it. So I think if we really think of doing it, then I suggest to have like regular hours for each faculties, and then have the whole thing set, and then have the report, have everything set as possible. So that'll be good.
Hershey? Was it a question, Peter?
No, just adding to it, like, I don't know if it came to you, the sheet. Like, I don't want office hours to be implemented, because since this is not a paid position, so I don't want to, force it on the counselors. But it would be a good idea to volunteer yourself for students, as we have been elected for that. Just saying that.
I mean,
sorry, I'm just gonna move on a bit. So this does these are all really good suggestions, but council meeting might not be the best place to come up with like a super coherent plan for this.
Reach out to me,
Yeah. Hershey?
Emerson.
Okay. Hirsch, and then Victoria.
I would like to call the orders of the day.
And who's Hirsch and then Victoria?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But yes,
I would like to call the orders of the day before she does.
That's so rude. The disrespect. But anyway.
All right. So
I second it.
I third it.
It's my unanimous approval. So yes, all right, we'll move along with the agenda. But thank you so much. And if you want to bring like a presentation or anything next meeting with a SharePoint or something, you're always welcome to.
I made the presentation and everything, but
okay.
I forgot about it.
All right. Okay. So at this point, we yes, Jeremiah.
Don't underestimate
Motion
GCS.
for Victoria to put her thing down.
Placard down? I don't know what that means. Okay.
Her placard, but really not.
Am I right to vote? No, until we vote.
Okay, well, there's nothing to vote on right now, but we are at 9B, which is Loyola Working Group Proposals, and Elise, this one is yours.
Okay, did everybody have a chance to look at it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, basically over the last semester, they started the Loyola Working Group. It was Graham Carr was interested in Loyola suddenly. So basically, there's a bunch of different. Am I not loud enough? Sorry, it just like sitting just makes me want to not talk loud. Okay, so yeah, we had those meetings over the last semester, and basically every 2 weeks we would have a meeting, 2 meetings a week, every 2 weeks, and then basically it would be community members that go to Loyola that would attend for the Ideas Cafe, but a bit of the problem that we were having during the Ideas Cafe were that like not enough students were coming. I would get some of my friends to come, but I guess it was just not generally being advertised too well. Hopefully, I hope that like the suggestions I were able to make were reflective enough though. On one of the ones that I was not able to attend, as you recall, I asked you guys for suggestions, so I made sure I sent those over. And then during the other meeting, there would always be the staff members that it would affect, and they would give us like the probabilities of certain things happening. During the course of the meetings, though, they never really gave like a priorities, I guess. So we gave all the recommendations to Graham Carr to look over, but it never really was like clear to me which ones did they actually take as valid or not. And even in the recommendations, I just see that everything was just kind of copied and pasted from the meetings. So starting January 28th, they're gonna have a whole session just to talk about shuttle buses. Once again, without the proper exposure though, I feel like it's just gonna be me that attends. So hopefully I'll be able to get some traction on that, but I'm not sure about how much I'll be able to do. As last semester, what I would do was contact every single MA at Loyola, and all of them were like, sounds good, and then I'd go. I guess it sounded good to me, so whatever. And yeah, so those are the suggestions. It comes with all of the typical things such as bathroom dirty, food don't exist, shuttle bus suck. But yeah, so.
Your Loyola team supported you.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. James?
Yeah, I think Loyola groups did a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yay.
James, could you
Huh?
You're funny.
Is there anything further on Loyola proposals? Yes, Victoria?
I would like to call the adjournment.
Actually, folks, we are for the first time reaching question period. Okay, just for some, because we've never gotten here, just for some agenda. All right, so you all know we go through the agenda, and then the last three things are question period and business arising, announcements, and adjournment. Adjournment's fairly straightforward. So question period and business arising is like stuff that came up during the meeting and that you want to make a motion for or that you have questions about. So for example, Melise resubmitted.
I met with the external at SMU and one of the people on the Bill 21 committee, as well as Eduardo, to kind of get some mobilization action for Bill 21. And she communicated that she would get me the pins that I ordered, but I'm still waiting.
When will we get them? Eduardo, did you want to respond?
Actually, I have a question. No, we don't know when we're going to get the pins, but I have a question for the room real quick.
It's awesome. Okay, is there anything else under question period and business arising, Peter?
Just one little question. I know I've been before. It's actually a question to the executive team though. It's that I wanted to know the key to the council room, how exactly we should do it with the whole situation with the case situations. I just wanted to ask with the executive team, do we just
Marianne isn't sure she's currently not here, but from my understanding, we submitted the list, and we're just waiting for, because it takes.
No. I only have the case, so that's fine. But I just want to know, do we have to return? Can we hold?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I have, but I'm just asking, can we hold on to the case, or do you guys
No,
also need
because there's a limited amount for everybody. So in that case, just go to security whenever you need it.
And then return to when we're done?
Okay. Everything's good with Keith. Sean?
What committees actually have open spots right now?
Meeting's still going. Yes, Sean?
I just wanted to ask, because I wasn't much about this, which committees actually have vacancies at this point in time?
So that's discussed at the beginning of each meeting, and you can point yourself to it when we do the appointments.
Yes.
Yeah, but basically the way it works is that for the standing committees, if there's ever vacancies, they show up under appointments, which is number 6 on the agenda. So today we filled appointments committee and student life. So those two had vacancies. So currently there are no vacancies on any committees. But if there are, they'll show up at the next meeting if somebody resigns. Millie's?
So all of the committees required to have a member at large.
Yes. All these standing committees, yes.
The standing committees are. Pardon?
Standing committees are our committees.
Okay, so could somebody that is a counselor that wants a spot on something be a member at large rather than a voting person?
In theory, yes, but they have to go through the member at large appointment, which is through appointments committee. Do they not? Okay. Oh, okay. I guess they don't qualify as a member at large then. Sorry.
All right.
Okay. No, there's announcements still, folks. I know you want to go home, but it's super rude to start packing up while people are talking, especially when it's your fellow counselors, because That's rude. And okay, are there any announcements?
Oh,
Yes, Salman? Yeah. To you in a sec. Yeah, Salman?
it's a very funny question. Well, when the council can get that hoodie?
Oh, that's a valid question.
At the end of the mandate.
Well, it's not.
Why?
We don't. What? It wasn't. We have a line, CSU merch, but Marin and you were kind of the people that were spearheading that line, and I don't know if this was part of your plans.
Yeah, I wanted to do a hoodie. It looks like counselors want us to do hoodies. So we'll get back to you on that immediately. We're just gonna see if we have the money for it and everything.
Use your discretionary.
Okay, all right, folks. There's still a speakers list. James.
Yeah. So, question: Are there any like Armenians on council? No.
It's an
actually,
announcement.
no. It's actually one because Armenian Christmas was on Sunday. And Russian Christmas was on Tuesday, so Orthodox Christmas was on Tuesday. So just wish if anybody celebrated, Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Esther?
Yeah, and can the hoodies be red?
She asked if the hoodies could be red.
I mean,
I'm sorry I brought that up.
There's still like that. That's okay. I know you want to leave. Literally, like anyone can leave with less than 60 minutes left, and it's not excusable. But we have an announcement section, so I would just ask everyone to please respect fellow counselors, because this is a time when you can advertise your events, or whether you can plug for something going on, or if there's a rally, if there's a protest, if there's a party, anything. This is what announcements are for. Jeremiah?
I'm pregnant.
Okay. Eduardo?
So I just want to reiterate, let's respect our time as well.
We don't get paid for this.
Okay. Eduardo?
So it makes zero difference.
Okay, Jeremiah, please.
Show.
So two quick announcements. On January 22nd is going to be the CSU Winter Orientation collaborating with ASPA Walkway. We're also going to be doing all that week morning coffees. The other thing is that on January 17th and January 20th, McGill will be going on strike for, again, Bill 21, the teaching and education faculties. UCAM has joined in on the strike. UDM is encouraging people to join in on the strike, but won't be on strike themselves. And we are now, I'm trying to contact, as we said before, to get Concordia on strike as well. If you do not like Bill 21, you might want to support that motion. Please maybe join with that strike.
All right, that was a very good use of announcements. Hershey?
Point of information.
Yes?
McGill is voting to go on strike on Friday.
Oh.
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Hershey?
Yeah, I just have a question for you, Isaiah, about the food. What was the conclusion? Sorry. What was the conclusion about the food situation?
What was the conclusion of the food thing?
Alright, so everyone who's gonna opt out, I have a mental list. Like I know Selena, Sean, and one of the Hershey's, they're opting out, so they're taking food for themselves. This, again, holiday season, like the person we normally work with to get the food is out of the country right now for now. So I'm like, by next council, I'll have something more exotic than who knows. But really, the conclusion is.
So is this not gonna be pizza every time?
I didn't plan for it to, unless you really like pizza, or we can go back to cheese and crackers.
Cheese and cracker?
Isaiah, it's your speaker turn too if you want to seamlessly.
So an announcement, Reggie's has a new menu. It's a lot more, like the prices are lower than it used to, and they're gonna start opening from 10 a.m. So if you wanna catch breakfast or go start day drinking, it's open earlier. Prices are a little more affordable, so give it a try. This Thursday, Reggie's Thursday for the first time this semester, so hope to see you there.
Okay, thank you. Elias?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, I guess, or clarify. I think the next meeting on January 22nd was supposed to be at Loyola. So I don't see Mary here, but did she rent the room? Is it ready? Is it happening there?
I
Marion gets
would
back
have to ask
tomorrow,
her.
and
Yeah.
if you shoot her a quick message.
Okay.
But thanks for the reminder.
I did not know that.
So,
Desiree?
Yeah, concerning the food, I know people, this isn't a direct response to what you just said, by the way, but I know Isaiah works really hard for the food. I just want to put it out there. Like before, people were just gonna have falafel wraps, and it wasn't very fancy. And he really makes an effort to have like varied food every week. So if you have comments, we can talk like regarding anything. You can talk to him before the meeting, and maybe not just like, yeah, be thankful, because also more money has been put into council food than ever before. It's like we want this to be good. If you want it to be good, we can work together to have it good.
I want to volunteer myself if you ever need help.
Okay,
I
yeah.
can bring the food.
That's why I was gonna say that before you said anything.
We
So.
have a strong, independent woman to help me carry food, and now I have a strong, independent student.
All right, so Matthew, your last on speakers list.
Yeah, just really quick. I was approached by the idea of doing like a retreat for everyone, and I just wanted to like partake in the planning of that. So if anyone else wanted to help with that, we could all get something going and have fun.
Yeah, I had written a motion for it, but like I don't have any more time for it, but like if people are still interested.
Ski night is great.
Ski night, yeah.
Ski trip.
Delise? Sorry, what'd you say?
When would this be?
We'll figure it
I
out.
mean, I wanted to bring it like at the last meeting, so we would have time for January, but like, no agenda. So.
All right.
Sorry, we have exams.
Salman? Oh, sorry. Okay, so I'm sorry you brought this up. Sorry to
I didn't
make
want
this go longer.
That's why
I did. Somebody had asked me before, and I said I'll deal with it in questions in business arising about the CEO. So I looked at my report to refresh my memory, and there's bylaw 9.4 that states the CEO has to file the results of the by-election with the chairperson of the Council of Representatives on the day following the expiry of the deadline to contest same, indicating whether such a contestation has been filed. And I contacted them twice, I believe, and did not receive any confirmation of results. So that was basically where that was. The only communication I've had with the CEO was me receiving his report, I believe, last week, and by-elections had been done for a couple of months by that time. So there was a bylaw that was broken.
So question there.
Yes.
If the CEO is in fact not resigning, what measures can we take to remove him from his position?
Yeah, go ahead.
So basically, we don't have a functioning judicial board. Step number one is if you want to fire someone, well, the CEO, is you have to respect the rules. So we need a functioning judicial board which provides oversight, technical oversight of the CEO. And if you have cause to fire this person, you can send it to the functioning judicial board. But at the moment, we only have 2 members, and you need a minimum of 3 members for it to work. But anyways, that's basically how that works. So step 1, appoint, and if you want to, we can speak about it at another time. But yeah.
All right. Yes, Eduardo.
Question actually for
Yep.
Appointments committee, hopefully we'll meet, everything goes well, on January 17th, Friday. Hopefully we'll be able to pick additional board members for that day. Obviously, because we're gonna be meeting Friday, I'll never have the minutes already or the reports in time for the 5 o'clock deadline. Can I just send you, because I said James will send in the transcripts and all that, can I send you the names at the 5 o'clock deadline? Like, over the weekend, work on all the minutes and everything and send them in, and they'd still all be passed through a consent agenda, even if there wouldn't be like 2 days or 5 days notice before the meeting.
Yeah, they'd still be in the consent agenda, and council could decide whether or not they want to accept them. So it's not up to me, like you can send them to me and I'll disseminate them, then council will decide. Maybe they'll say you did give us enough time, we'll deal with it later, maybe they'll accept it, but it's council's prerogative in the end. But generally, yes, reports are fine. All right, with that, there are no more announcements. If anyone wants to move to adjourn, Hannah.
I move to adjourn.
All right, seconded by Hershey, sorry. All right, thank you, folks. 2020.